Mike Tice's Vikings have won 5 consecutive games, one of 6 NFL teams that have won at least 5 in a row.
Yeah, and what they don't want to happen is for this streak to end. And they don't want to look beyond the Rams to next week against Pittsburgh down the road to Chicago. And so that's what Mike Tice is telling those guys right now.
The Bears have won 8 straight. They are in Pittsburgh today.
Oh, they'll be looking up at that score now. I mean, you can bet that. Pittsburgh comes here next week. They want to be able to take the Rams, move to 6 wins in a row. And then 3 of these last 4 games right here at the Metrodome, they feel good about their chances here in the final quarter of the season.
The Rams have won the toss. Paul Ehninger kicking off to David Allen. Allen out across the 25, so the Rams will start from their own 26-yard line following the 17-yard return by Allen. Ryan Fitzpatrick making his 2nd NFL start. Threw for 310 yards in relief 2 weeks ago in Houston. Started the game for the Rams last week against the Washington Redskins, a 24-9 defeat.
And he said that was his first loss since his junior year at Harvard, or since he met his fiancée. So it's been a long time since he had that bad feeling in his gut.
Steven Jackson on first down. And he's hit for a loss. Loss of 1 on the play. Wrapped up by C.J. Mosley making his 2nd start for the injured Kevin Williams. Up front along with Scott, Pat Williams, and another rookie, Erasmus James, out of Wisconsin. Coward in the middle with Newman and Henderson. Winfield and Williams, the corners. Travis and Sharper, with 7 interceptions this season, are the safeties. On 2nd and 10, it's Jackson again. Takes it out to the 33-yard line, tackled by Sam Cowart after a gain of 7, so it will be a 3rd down and 3 for the Rams.
Well, here's part of the battle today, is the Vikings in this 5-game win streak has had great defense. And anytime you have great defense, you have leaders. And that man, Pat Williams, coming off the sideline, has been a guy that's fueled it. Free agent from Buffalo. And basically everybody on the defense says he's our guy to stop the run. And that's the biggest thing this defense has done the last 5 weeks. They stopped running backs.
3 wide receivers for the Rams. Fitzpatrick to the air for the first time. It is nearly picked off by Ralph Brown. The pass intended for Isaac Bruce.
Well, the one thing that Ryan Fitzpatrick was guilty of last week was he got the ball out of his hands late. And he throws it late right here. You can see Ralph Brown is looking in the backfield the whole time. And he's young, and so he's learning the timing with his receivers right now, and he's a little bit unsure, so he's a little bit late throwing the football, and right there, that was almost near disaster.
So Brian Barker out to punt. Nate Burleson in single safety for the Vikings. Burleson takes it out of bounds at the 18-yard line. A 49-yard punt by Barker. So Brad Johnson leads the Vikings offense out. He's got 5-0 as the starter this season for Minnesota since the injury suffered by Culpepper. Over his last 2 games, 5 touchdowns, only 1 interception. A look at the men protecting Brad Johnson. Marcus Johnson, right tackle, the rookie out of Mississippi, a 2nd-round draft pick. Michael Bennett starting in the backfield. Jermaine Wiggins, the Vikings' leading receiver, with 54 receptions. Couple of fakes by Johnson. Pass caught by Bennett out of the backfield. And Bennett takes it out to the 20-yard line, brought down by Ryan Pickett after a 3-yard gain. Rams defense ranked 31st in the NFL. Leonard Little has been quiet. No sacks over his last 5 games. Tino Isamoa, the leading tackler for the Rams this season. Strong safety Adam Archuleta returning after missing the last 2 games due to a concussion. 2nd down and 7. 3 wide receivers. Vikings keep it on the ground. This is Bennett. And Bennett takes it out to the 23-yard line. A gain of 3. So it will be 3rd down and 4 for Minnesota.
So we spent time with Mike Tice on Friday, and he said the one guy that is not going to beat us today, is not going to have an effect on the game, is Leonard Little. The Vikings lost to these Rams 3 times between '99 and 2003, and the last time they played, he had 4 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and he single-handedly helped to beat the Minnesota Vikings. And so today, there is going to be extra special attention paid to shutting down Leonard Little.
Little with 4 sacks this season, all coming over his first 5 games. 3rd down and 4. Johnson in trouble, and he throws it away under pressure from Anthony Hargrove.
Well, this time, Leonard Little actually plays linebacker. He actually drops. Watch Leonard Little drop back here into coverage. They bring the pressure from the other side. That's what you call a zone blitz. And that's Anthony Hargrove got the hit on Brad Johnson. So good scheme that time by the Rams. Get all the attention to Leonard Little, drop him, use him as a decoy, and bring pressure from the other side.
So now 40-year-old Darren Bennett will punt for the first time this season, brought back by the Vikings this week to replace the injured Chris Kluwe. Penalty marker. Wobbly punt. And it takes a bit of a Vikings roll.
That looks like a punt from a punter that's been retired, you know, for the last 14 weeks.
Bennett struggled during the preseason. He was released and received the phone call on Monday from the Vikings.
He said when offensive linemen retire, they don't go out and practice pass blocking. They just retire, and that's what I did. But the rookie Kluwe was injured twice last week in the victory against Detroit.
Illegal motion on the kicking team, number 36. We'll add 5 yards on to the end of the kick. First down, St. Louis.
So good field position for the Rams. Early first quarter.
That's Mike Tice right there looking at the photographs of last series. He looks like an English teacher grading papers. I mean, you can just look at a picture and know who did their job right, who did it wrong, and he's making the corrections right there so that they come out the next series, they can make sure that they got it right and ready to go forward.
Tice, the longtime offensive line coach before he became head coach of the Vikings. 2 tight end set on first down, and it's taken into Vikings territory by Brandon Manu Maliuna for a gain of 6.
Well, we talked to Brandon Manu Maliuna yesterday, and that's the softest spoken football player I've ever met. I mean, the words just trickle out of his mouth, quiet, yet he's the biggest tight end in the business. He's at least 280 pounds, maybe 290, sometimes 300. They got him on a weight check. But he is a fierce blocker and a guy that's dependable as a receiver. They just don't go to him that much.
11th catch of the season for Brandon. And off to Steven Jackson on second down. There is a penalty marker as Jackson picks up the first down, takes it down to the Vikings 36, but the 12-yard pickup will be called back.
Holding offense number 75. 10-yard penalty, repeat second down.
That's on the left guard, the rookie out of New Mexico, Claude Terrell.
Yeah, and you know, the rookie has struggled in there, and they've struggled as an offensive line. They've lost their rookie right tackle, Alex Barron. He's out with thumb surgery a couple of weeks ago. His grandfather just passed away. He's at some funeral services this weekend. Terrell in there. Adam Timberman has been banged up. Joe Vitt told us that when this offense was rolling, and they were the best in football 2 years in a row, when they went to the Super Bowl, it was the same 5 offensive linemen. They have not had that luxury at all this season.
Following the penalty, now second down and 14 from the 42. Fitzpatrick complete, Torrey Holt. And Holt tackled by Darren Sharper after a short gain, a gain of 4, setting up a 3rd down and 10.
Okay, when you're on a 5-game win streak, it's fun coming to practice and it's fun playing. You know, watching the Vikings here come to Torrey Holt. Short pass out of Ryan Fitzpatrick's hands. Watch the purple jerseys get there. Pat Williams gets there. I mean, they all get there to the ball here. It's fun to go make the tackles and to help each other out. It fuels your enthusiasm for the game when you keep these kind of streaks going.
Now, as you talked about in the open, this defense has been outstanding over these last 5 weeks. Fitzpatrick on 3rd and 10, incomplete through the hands of Isaac Bruce.
That's all on Isaac. I mean, Fitzpatrick stayed in there. He read the defense properly, found the open guy. This is a well-thrown ball. Nice, tight spiral. Pretty pass. A little bit behind Isaac, but a pass that a guy that has 14,000 receiving yards in this league has caught many times.
That would have been his 800th career reception had he made the catch.
So he's got 799.
Stuck on 799. Moelde Moore back deep for the Vikings. He ran a punt back against the Giants last month. Moore lets this one bounce into the end zone, so the Vikings will take over on the 20. A 54-yard punt, but a net of only 34. Bruce unable to hang on. This is good news for Minnesota Vikings fans. The Bears, who have won 8 straight, have fallen behind early in Pittsburgh on a 14-yard touchdown reception by Hines Ward.
Well, that's only their 12th touchdown that they've given up all season. Bears the best defense in football right now.
So the Steelers lead 7-0. No score here in Minnesota as Johnson's pass is caught by Troy Williamson back in the lineup for the first time in 3 weeks. Picks up 12 and a first down.
And Pat Johnson got whacked on this blitz right up the middle here. And you know what? He stayed in there. I mean, that's what every offensive lineman wants to play for. A guy that has that kind of toughness, understanding of the offense, able to still get that ball out to the rookie. Takes that hit there. Think about Brad Johnson in his 14th year. He is a big and sturdy guy. He can take a hit.
Two tight ends set. Johnson changing the play. From the 32 on first down. The fingertips of Travis Taylor, but there is a flag. Ron Bartell, rookie out of Howard, on the coverage.
Yeah, this is going to go against the Rams here.
Defensive pass interference, number 32. Spot foul, automatic first down.
I saw 2 different passes here in these last 2 throws. This one here to Travis Taylor. And Brad was telling us that he's had a lot of good receiving corps in Washington, here in Minnesota, or in Tampa. He said, but I've never had 5 receivers like I have here, and all of them are good, capable guys. Never had a quintuplet before of receivers.
From the 44, off the play fake. Pass is caught by Jermaine Wiggins. And he picks up another Vikings first down at the Rams 44. Wiggins gains 12.
Well, really, it's a sextuple. You know, it's not 5 receivers because Jermaine Wiggins is their leading receiver for the 2nd year in a row. And I remember talking to Bill Parcells about Jermaine Wiggins. He was so happy. He signed him up in New England as a rookie free agent, paid him about $500 signing bonus, got him into this league. And one thing about Wiggins, that guy doesn't drop a pass. He's got sticky fingers, and he's dependable. He's played on Super Bowl champion teams in New England, and he knows how to catch the ball.
From the 44 on first down, Michael Bennett, big hole, and takes it down to the 34-yard line, close to another Vikings first down, as we say hello for the first time today to James Brown in Los Angeles. Take it away, JB.
All right, Kenny, I would take a look at Pittsburgh scoring here. A little play action. Roethlisberger, a little screen pass there to Hines Ward. Great second and third effort. Maybe from Chicago's standpoint, not great tackling. Nonetheless, Ward scores 7-0. Steelers fighting to stay in the playoff picture. Back to Kenny Albert.
All right, thanks, JB. So Hines Ward into the end zone for the Steelers. 7-0 Pittsburgh.
I think Hines Ward's going to be on Howie's tough guys this year.
Johnson setting up the screen to Michael Bennett, and he's tackled from behind. Nice defensive play by Pisa Tino-Samoa, the Rams' leading tackler.
Well, a big part of this offense that Brad has executed so well these last 5 weeks is really spreading the football around. There's no one guy. I mean, when Randy Moss was here for years, Randy Moss was the focal point of this offense, and you built everything around it. You know, they played safeties deep, so you ran the ball. They brought him up, you went deep. I mean, now they don't, without Randy, they've got to spread it around. And they've got guys at every position, at tight end. Michael Bennett running it, catching the ball on screens. Wide receivers right now. Really, anybody could be the featured guy in any Sunday.
Johnson on 2nd and 10, complete to Burleson. And Nate Burleson picks up the first down at the Rams 22, a pickup of 12.
Well, Mike Tice has already said that next year, Dante Culpepper, when he comes back, he's our starter. And when Brad Johnson signed here this year, he said, I'm the backup. And he's doing his job right now. But you could see that Brad has come in here. He's settled things down. The defense has played better. They're getting some turnovers. Brad isn't turning the ball over. And so they're getting good field position right now. They're scoring. And so Ziggy Wilf here, I think maybe 5 weeks ago, his decision, what he was going to do with his head coach was easy. I think it's a very difficult decision right now.
Johnson on first down, hits Bennett. And Bennett works his way inside the 20.
I was talking to Ziggy Wilf before the game, the new Vikings owner, and I asked him if he's enjoying this 5-game win streak. He said, I'll let you know after the game. You know, because every week it's another week. Okay, we won this week. Now, how are we going to win this week? And so last week he was having fun and kind of offering some plays to Mike Tice to call during the game. I think Mike knows how to call a game, though. And so I think he takes the suggestions, but I think this whole thing has been a good team effort.
Draw Bennett off the middle, gains 2. When you think about all the controversy this franchise went through over the last 6 months, a lot of that's been erased by what they've been able to do on the field the last 5 weeks, at least in the minds of their fans.
And really, that's what should speak, is the play of the players, how Mike has rescued this thing, pulled together. And I've known Mike Tice a long time. We grew up on Long Island together. We played in the same conference. I do with preseason games here. And the fact is that Mike Tice is a guy you want to play for. He played in this league for 14 years. He's a self-made guy, and guys like him and respect him.
Johnson on third down and 6. Intended for Burleson, but there is a flag. And it looks to be against the Rams.
Offside defense, number 96. 5-yard penalty, repeat, third down.
Well, the Rams don't have a 96, but somebody was offside.
And it's going to give him a third and short situation right here. Joe Vitz said that his offensive and defensive lines have to play the best they've played all year for them to win this football game.
That penalty sets up a third down and 1 from the Rams 13. Empty backfield. 2 tight ends. Find Saucer and Wiggins. And the pitch to Corin Robinson. And Robinson picks up the first down and more. He's into the end zone for the touchdown.
Everything was great about that play for Corin Robinson, except for his Metrodome leap. Merry Christmas to that little guy, too. Corin Robinson has turned his life around, but Marcus Robinson gets out front. He throws a block right out here on the corner. You see the strength of Corin Robinson breaking tackles right at the line of scrimmage.
First career rushing touchdown for the former Seahawk, who gave the Vikings the early lead last week on the 80-yard touchdown reception on the Vikings' first play from scrimmage.
Mr. Robinson's neighborhood right there.
God bless the dreams, Mr. Robinson. Heaven holds a place for those who pray.
Corin Robinson went through some tough times during his career in Seattle. One of the first things Mike Tice told him this offseason, I like to give people second chances. I've done some things myself that I'm not proud of. And he certainly has given Corin Robinson a second chance, and he has thrived here in Minnesota.
The free agent acquisition pickup of the season is Corin Robinson with the Vikings.
David Allen on the return for the Rams, takes it out to the 32, brought down by Rod Davis. 7-0 Vikings. Rams back on offense when we come back. Among the fans here today, the family of Mark Laufer, one of our video technicians, enjoying the Vikings.
Good seats.
And the Rams.
Yeah, good seats.
Rams go to work from their own 32-yard line. Steven Jackson out to the 37, a gain of 5.
Watch this design of the play right here. Here's Corin Robinson. He's going to catch the ball here run a reverse. But inside, they pull the center and right guard. Fowler and Goldberg. These guys get out front and run good interference here. You get the guard and the center out front, and then you get this block out here by Marcus Robinson. That's the key block. And Warren Robinson, a guy who wore number 81 his whole time in Seattle for 4 years, turned his life around, now wears 18. Turned it inside out.
First down for Steven Jackson out to the 45-yard line as we check in once again with JB.
Hey, Kenny, Buccaneers looking to snap a 5-game losing streak to Carolina. Deep man in the eye, Cadillac Williams bust through the hole to the left side. First rushing touchdown in the last 3 weeks. His 4th of the season. Buccaneers on top, 7-0 over Carolina. Back to Kenny Albert and Brian Baldinger.
And remember, JB, the Panthers have won their last 5 games against Tampa Bay. Bucks with the early lead. Fitzpatrick to Torrey Holt. And Holt brought down at the 49 in Vikings territory, a gain of 6. Ryan Fitzpatrick, the first quarterback from James Brown's alma mater to start in the NFL.
And, you know, after his first action 2 weeks ago against Houston, we had that 21-point comeback victory. Everybody was talking about Fitzpatrick and get Fitzpatrick jerseys for Christmas and the holidays. And he loses last week, and the phone stopped ringing. And he came back down to earth, and I think he had a good week of practice.
Penalty markers on 2nd and 4.
False start offense, number 66. 5-yard penalty. Still 2nd down.
That's on the right tackle, Rex Tucker. In fact, Fitzpatrick's parents could not find a place to buy a jersey, so Ryan had to get them a couple from the equipment staff.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a household name in St. Louis yet or around the league. And he said last week I missed 4 or 5 passes where I read the coverage, I had the open guy, and I was just high. I was late. He goes, I can't afford to miss those throws in this offense. I'm better than that. It surprised him that he missed the throws.
And now Fitzpatrick calls timeout. Baldy, a couple of friends of yours?
Well, it's the holiday season, and they're festive. I saw them in the elevator today, Viking fans, and I'm like, is it just the holidays you dress up like this? And they're like, no. It's how we come to every football game. Santa hat in purple and gold. And, you know, Ryan Fitzpatrick was looking forward to coming here. He'd never played in front of a house this big, over 60,000. Last time, when he was at Harvard, they played in the Yale Bowl against the Elis in front of 55,000. He said he was practicing with a lot of crowd noise in practice this week.
On 2nd and 9, Fitzpatrick handing it off to Steven Jackson, and he takes it into Vikings territory. Fitzpatrick told us yesterday the Yale Bowl was the loudest stadium he played in during his collegiate days.
Well, you wouldn't think that Cornell and Harvard was drawing a big crowd, or Columbia and Harvard were drawing big crowds. And so all week long, the Rams practiced with crowd noise inside their bubble, where they crank up stereo speakers inside there so you can't even talk to the person next to you in practice, much like the sound in this stadium right now.
3rd down and 4. Fitzpatrick looking for Torrey Holt, and there is a flag. Fred Smoot returning to the Vikings lineup after missing the last 5 games on the coverage. Larry Nemmers, our referee today.
There's no foul for legal contact on the play.
Torrey Holt is pleading his case, the wide receiver involved here. Here he is working Torrey Holt, 81, against Fred Smoot. That was the initial flag, was Smoot just getting his hands on him, and Smoot's been on the shelf with a bad shoulder for the last 3 or 4 weeks. He hadn't seen that kind of speed come at him while he's been sitting and resting.
So Brian Barker will punt for the 3rd time this quarter. Weldy Moore back deep for the Vikings. Takes a Rams bounce inside the 10 and is down at the 8-yard line. Well, we take you back to Ryan Fitzpatrick's career as a member of the Harvard Crimson. Started 21 games, lost only 3.
Yeah, he can't remember it. He was really saying the last time he lost a game. He broke his hand his junior year at Harvard and missed some games there. They lost a few. His senior year there it is at Franklin Field in Philadelphia against the Penn Quakers. One of those pretty touchdown throws, and a guy that was undefeated his senior season.
Ivy League Player of the Year, drafted in the 7th round by the Rams. Mike Martz had a lot to do with the selection, as did the Rams quarterback coach, John Randall.
False start, offense number 72. Half the distance to the goal, still first down.
That's on the right tackle, Marcus Johnson. Now, you saw Fitzpatrick. He wore uniform number 14 for Harvard. So did James Brown when he played basketball at Harvard back in the early 1970s.
Yeah, and you know, you couldn't have played basketball for Harvard or any other school back in the early 70s, not had some kind of an afro. You know what I mean? Brad Johnson had one when he was in college at Florida State. JB was hoping we weren't going to put that picture up today and show him in his better daylight.
Hand off to Bennett. And he finds daylight. JB was the one who told us about the photo last week.
You can't tell us that don't show me that footage of me with that afro and not expect us to go find footage of it. So we're only paying tribute to you here. And JB looked like he was in good shape back there, too.
Yeah. Now, he was a 4th-round pick of the Atlanta Hawks. Do you know who the Hawks picked in the 5th round?
He got me stumped.
From the University of Minnesota. Guy who was also drafted by the Vikings, Dave Winfield.
Dave Winfield. Of course, 3-sport athlete here with the Golden Gophers. Football, basketball.
Picked the round after JB by the Atlanta Hawks.
Never played football here, but was such an athlete that they drafted him to play football.
Here's Bennett looking to turn the corner. And he gains 1 out to the 15-yard line, setting up 3rd down and 3. Anthony Hargrove made the tackle.
You know, I was looking at Michael Bennett there, and, you know, the Vikings here have had injuries at running back all year. Weldon Moore's gotten hurt. Michael Bennett's been hurt. Mo Williams got hurt. Satrick Faison, a rookie, has been hurt. And really, they're going to have to just keep juggling guys. There's not one featured back right now. In fact, Michael Bennett, coming home after the game last week, slipped in his driveway and turned an ankle. But practiced all week, showed his toughness, and he's out here today.
3 wide receivers set on 3rd down and 3. Johnson to Kleinsasser, but a nice tackle made by Leonard Little. And Kleinsasser looks to be just shy of the marker.
And Leonard Little has really come alive the last week now. Had a good game last week in the loss to the Redskins, and here he is again. Watch him. He's got Jim Kleinsasser in coverage. He's stumbling, but he makes the tackle right there. He's able to get Kleinsasser down before the 1st down. Using all of his skills here.
Does he usually drop into coverage this often?
Not this much, but I think it's part of the game plan because Kleinsasser had such a good game receiving last week.
Bennett's punt is scooped up and brought back to the 39 by Mike Furry. Bennett's first punt, only 36 yards. And this one, 32. Coming up next Saturday on Fox, it'll be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New England Patriots, who have combined to win the last 4 Super Bowls. They will go at it Saturday right here on Fox.
And don't look now, but the Patriots in first place look like they're going to win the AFC East. And Brady and Corey Dillon all healthy and ready for the stretch run.
Fitzpatrick slipped and then falls on it back at the 43-yard line, a loss of 4, as the Rams have their best starting field position of the game. Time winding down in this first quarter.
This is just the turf monster right here. Probably didn't have a lot of those problems in the Ivy League over the last 4 years. Last week, of course, trying to hand the ball off to Steve Jackson, got the ball knocked out by the fullback Madison Hedgecock, and really lost an opportunity to gain on Washington.
First quarter has come to an end. Corin Robinson with the game's only touchdown. Vikings lead 7-0. Fox NFL Sunday will return after these messages. The Rams pass on 65% of their plays, but an even breakdown in the first quarter. 6 runs, 6 passes.
It's pretty balanced on offense right now.
Marshall Faulk in the slot. On 2nd and 14, the pass is caught by Faulk. That's the 750th reception of his career, second to only Larry Centers among running backs in NFL history.
Well, he just hasn't been used much at all this season. He's on the inside working against E.J. Henderson to get them matched up. That particular formation that time, they had both Steven Jackson and Marshall Faulk as the slot receivers. Marshall Faulk always been great at surveying the defense and finding the weakness, looking at the blitz, getting as much pre-snap information as he can get.
Remains in the game on 3rd down and 7 as Fitzpatrick hits Kevin Curtis for a Rams first down.
And that time Fitzpatrick had plenty of protection, and partly because of Marshall Faulk and surveying the defense, finding out where he can help in the protection game. Watch Marshall Faulk come over here and help out. Seal that backside right there. Allow that passing lane to open up for Ryan Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick said one of his problems last week was he was trying to throw over the defensive lineman, and so he was putting a high trajectory on the ball, and he kept missing his receivers high.
From the 27. Pass is caught by the fullback, Madison Hedgecock. His 4th reception of the season. And he takes it down to the 26-yard line, a gain of 2 as we check out the Rams offensive leaders. Second down and 8. Hedgecock and Faulk in the backfield. And off to Marshall Faulk following Hedgecock. And Faulk is close to another Rams first down.
That didn't look like anything wrong with Marshall Faulk right there. I mean, he saw that hole and he hit it. And I've been around Marshall the last 2 weeks. Before the game in Washington, today before this game, he goes out there and just plays catch. I mean, he is as fresh as can be, even in his 12th year. And no injuries this year, no limps, everything is healthy. If they can just hold on to the football longer, they run it fewer than any other team in this league right now. If they can just hold on to it, he can get on the field more often.
Now Faulk shifting into the backfield from the 16-yard line off the play fake. Fitzpatrick able to get rid of it. Torrey Holt. And Holt is tackled after gaining 2 down to the 14-yard line, brought down by Antoine Winfield, setting up 2nd down and 8.
I think you just saw an example of why Mike Martz was so high on Ryan Fitzpatrick. That ability right there. I mean, there was 2 guys chasing him. He's able to use his speed to get away from the defenders to buy time here. I mean, you know, there's Erasmus James and Pat Williams both chasing him. He's got some speed that he can use to buy a little time to throw that ball.
2nd and 8 from the 14. Steven Jackson inside the 10, down to the 9. He picks up 5.
And we put up that graphic a couple plays ago, Kenny. We had 6 passes, 6 runs, and right now you feel some balance, you know, within this football team. Running, throwing, not putting it all on Ryan Fitzpatrick. Steven Jackson said, look, I can break tackles. I one-on-one can wear down the defense. I can watch those guys not want to hit me in the 4th quarter, but you have to keep feeding me every single quarter, every series. Keep feeding me. Let me start chip away at these guys a little bit.
Now 3rd down and 3. Rams have to get to the 6 for a first down. Steven Jackson. Corey Chavis was the first Viking to make contact. Jackson gaining just 1.
I think they have a decision to make, whether to go for this or not. I mean, here's a team that's 5-7, been a disappointing season. Joe Vitz, like, I'm coming here to win the game. I'm not coming here just to play. We're coming to win, and I think that's the message he's sending to this offense right now. And I think it's the right message.
The Rams will go for it here on 4th down and 2. The Rams this year 14 for 16 on 4th down. Hedgecock and Jackson in the backfield. 2 tight ends. On 4th and 2, this is Jackson. Darian Scott made the initial contact. The Rams turn the ball over on downs. Think Ziggy Wolf is happy?
Happy holidays.
Back in Minneapolis, Vikings leading 7-0. And off to Ciantric Faison, his first carry today. And Faison gains a couple before he is forced back.
Hey, watch this fourth down play by the Rams. It's kind of an influence play. Orlando Pace, their best lineman, is going to draw set and pull out, along with Cam Cleveland, the tight end, and the hole is right there. And Steven Jackson goes back inside, and there was nobody on Darian Scott there. I mean, I just think he went the wrong way. If I was Steven Jackson, I would follow my best lineman. I would go behind Orlando Pace. He was the hole on that play.
Johnson on second down, looking for Corin Robinson. Ron Bartell on the coverage, so it will be third down and 8. Johnson now 7 for 9. Including that incompletion, 43 yards. Michael Bennett, 26 yards on the ground. Corin Robinson with the game's only score.
Corin Robinson this year now has scored on a kickoff return. He scored receiving the ball and on running the football. And he said he wants to go to Honolulu to the Pro Bowl this year as the kick returner, as the NFC's special team kickoff returner.
And if he is selected, he will take teammate Brian Williams with him. Third down and 8. Incomplete. Intended for Klein Saucer.
Well, that time, you know, they're just trying to throw hot right here. There's going to be a blitz right here. Here comes Jerome Carter along with Archuleta. Brad Johnson reads it correctly. Tries to throw it to his safety valve, Klein Saucer right there. Just throws it a little bit behind him. You can see the Rams are taking a lot of chances on defense. They've been blitzing a lot out here today. So far, the Vikings have done a pretty good job of picking the blitz up.
Darren Bennett averaging only 31 yards on his first 2 punts. Good one here, and the crowd reacts. Taken at the 36 by David Allen. And Allen with a 12-yard return out to the 48. This punt from Bennett, 53 yards, and a 12-yard return by Allen. Vikings leading the Rams 7-0, early second quarter. Corin Robinson with the game's only touchdown on a 13-yard run in the first quarter. Good field position here for the Rams. They've averaged their own 43 in terms of starting field position. They start from the 48, and Steven Jackson gains 3 into Vikings territory. Pat Williams made the tackle. We mentioned Brian Williams, Vikings cornerback. Brian, why would Corin Robinson take Brian Williams with him to the Pro Bowl?
You know what? They're good friends. They were college teammates at North Carolina State. And when Corin Robinson was in an off-season drug rehabilitation facility, Brian Williams suggested to Mike Tice that you should call Corin. He wants to play the game. He's straightening his life out. And that started the dialogue.
Pass incomplete on 2nd and 7, intended for Torrey Holt, who is also a teammate at North Carolina State with Corin Robinson and Brian Williams.
And, you know, they all recognize Corin Robinson's supreme talent. He was a top 10 pick in the draft 5 years ago. Mike Holmgren stayed with him as long as he could up there, but he had off-the-field problems. He straightened himself up. He recognized that he had a problem. He opens up about it freely right now. He feels like Mike Tice has given him a true second chance in his business and in life right now, and he doesn't want to let him down, but it never would have started without Brian Williams initiating the contact between the two.
3 wide receivers for the Rams on 3rd down and 7. Fitzpatrick fires, and it's caught by Holt. Torrey Holt takes it all the way down inside the Vikings 35. A 16-yard reception and run by Holt.
Well, I think Torrey Holt heard us talking about Corin Robinson and Brian Williams at North Carolina State, and is like, don't leave me out here. I'm the leading receiver, and Darren Sharper was going for an interception. He was playing for the pick all the way, and Torrey Holt didn't let him get to it. That is a meeting at the ball right there. aggressive receiver and defensive back all going for the play, and Torrey Holt got it.
Fourth reception of the game for Holt, and now Fitzpatrick taken down back at the 41-yard line by Darian Scott, his fourth sack of the season.
You know, and that's another big play by Darian Scott. He stopped Steve Jackson on the series before on fourth down, and here he comes on the inside twist. Comes right through the right tackle, Rex Tucker right there, never set his feet. And the Rams have gone through right tackles in this business like nobody else. I mean, ever since Fred Miller was here, the year they won the Super Bowl, they've gone through about 9 or 10 of them, and they haven't been able to find one. The rookie right tackle, Alex Barron, right now is out with a thumb injury, and he didn't even come on the trip.
Fred Miller now a Chicago Bear. Second down and 16. Falk out of the backfield, and he's tackled at the 33-yard line by Brian Williams.
Well, Brian Williams has been a starter in this league, and he's been challenged a lot. I mean, every year they bring in guys to take his job. I mean, they brought in Denard Walker and Kenny Irvin a couple of years ago. You know, they've drafted guys. They brought in this year, Fred Smoot paid him a lot of money, and every year Brian Williams ends up out there still playing. And he has a good swagger about him. He's a good tackler, he's a physical player, and he has a lot of confidence in his ability.
Now third down and 11, 4 wide receivers. Fitzpatrick looking for Holt. Incomplete.
Boy, had him too, and he just overthrew him. A couple weeks ago against Houston, he was able to make those throws and complete them. A little bit of pressure here, but Torrey Holt works one-on-one with Ralph Brown. Ooh, he missed him by just 2 yards. So much of this offense is on timing, Kenny, where the receiver has to get to a spot. The receiver has to trust that he gets to a spot and throw it to a spot. And they just simply haven't had that much time working together.
So Jeff Wilkins out to attempt a 51-yard field goal. His season long is 49. Wilkins from 51. It is good. His career long is 57. Rams on the scoreboard. They now trail the Vikings 7-3.
Here's Koren Robinson getting ready to return a kick. How he gets himself mentally ready. Says he loves returning kicks. Says it just, he likes getting out in the open spaces and using his size and his speed. And even if he becomes a star receiver again, he wants to hold on to the kickoff return duties.
And he was not a return man in Seattle during his 4 years with the Seahawks. Brought a kickoff back 86 yards for a touchdown against the Giants last month. Here's Robinson from the goal line. Koren Robinson across the 30, the 40, midfield. And is finally tackled. Well, he stepped out of bounds first back at the 39. So a 61-yard return by Koren Robinson.
He has energized this entire football team with his talent, with his ability, and not since Randy Moss was here has there been a guy that they've had here like this. A true talent. When he came out of North Carolina State, that's who people compared him to Randy Moss, which he isn't because his hands aren't as good as Randy. But he's stronger than Randy, not as fast, but he is a playmaker. And that phone call that Brian Williams allowed Mike Tice to make may have changed this entire franchise around. That KR right there for Koren Robinson and kick returner.
Which one does it stand for?
It's both of them. I like kick returner right now, but not going to change your name. I mean, it's always Koren Robinson.
Brad Johnson calls timeout. When we come back, a 1st and 10 for the Vikings from the Rams 39.
On that chart of plays that Mike Tice carries around with him is a section called momentum plays. And after a turnover or after a big return like Koren Robinson had, he likes to go to those momentum plays and keep the momentum going, keep the crowd into it. Don't be surprised if the Vikings go up top here and try and get a quick score.
From the Rams 39, the end around to Troy Williamson. And Williamson picks up a Vikings first down.
That's a momentum play, Kenny. I mean, it doesn't have to be, you know, a bomb. Sometimes it can be give your ball to the fastest player. One of those guys involved in the trade this year allowed him to get an extra first-round pick for Randy Moss, and they drafted Troy Williamson. Mike Tice was disappointed with Troy the last couple weeks. He pulled himself out of a game, said he was tired, he was hurt, and took himself out of practice, and he sat him down the last 2 weeks, and he said he hopes he never has to sit him down again.
Williamson gained 11. And the Vikings keep it on the ground on first down, and Moore is tackled by Tino Samoa.
And, you know, you can see the Vikings struggle on offense. I mean, they've got 7 points today. They've had good field position. They haven't been able to finish many drives. And when you look at the picture here, what's in front of them the next month, they're going against defenses much better than the Rams. And the offense has to get much better. The defense is keeping them in it. The special teams have been outstanding. And Mike thought this was going to happen, but the offense now has got the answer. Good field position, you got to go down and score.
2nd and 10 off the play fake. Johnson to the end zone. Intended for Corin Robinson, broken up by Brad Johnson's teammate with the Super Bowl champion Bucs, Corey Ivy.
He threw this ball well, too. Well, he gets sandwiched right there. I mean, how he even throws the ball this perfect. I tell you, Corey Ivy right here does a good job of knocking Corin Robinson's hands down. That is pass interference right there. Not called, probably not seen. Hit it pretty well. That's a momentum shot right there going to the end zone.
So now a 3rd down and 10. Johnson to Kleinsasser. And he's stopped about a yard shy by Adam Archuleta. Gain of 9, so it's now 4th down and 1. Do the Vikings go for it or send out the field goal unit?
You know what? They're sending the field goal unit out because if it's under a yard, I think Tice goes for it. If it's over a yard, he sends out Edinger and goes for a pretty easy field goal kick. I think this one is just over a yard. Just don't pass up the opportunity for points in this league right now, the way this game is going.
A 37-yard attempt. As you saw, Edinger has struggled from this range, but he nails this kick, extending the Vikings' lead to 7. The Steelers now lead the Bears 14-3. A win today by Minnesota and a Chicago loss, and the Vikings would pull to within 1 game. It's the first time the Bears are trailing a game by double digits since their 8-game winning streak started.
That loss to Cleveland 8 weeks ago.
David Allen brought down shy of the 20-yard line. A 15-yard return. Will Hunter, good effort on special teams.
Yeah, special teams have been great for Minnesota, and Mike Tice really gave special mention to a core group led by Will Hunter, Rennell Smith, guys that really have covered kicks all well for Rusty Tillman this season. Edinger's been an upgrade as a kicker. Chris Kluwe, who's out today, has been probably the best punter in the league this season. And then Corin Robinson and Noel D. Moore have been excellent as returners. So good special teams for the Vikings so far this season.
Steven Jackson on first down. Sam Cowart, first Viking in on the tackle. There is a flag. Jackson lost 1 on the play.
Steven Jackson told us yesterday, no matter what he does in the first half, how few yards it's going to be a holding call, it's going to get backed up, that he doesn't get discouraged.
Holding offense, number 44. 10-yard penalty, half the distance to the goal, still first down.
That's on the fullback, Madison Hitchcock.
Well, he's a rookie. Madison Hitchcock is a rookie, and, you know, he's learning. And Steve Jackson said, I can understand. You know, rookie fullback, I was a rookie last year. Every play I was learning. And so, rookie left guard Claude Terrell, these guys are learning, and it's just a tackle right there on E.J. Henderson. Brings him right down and, you know, backs him up and puts him in a tough situation right here where it's hard to stay with the run on 1st and 19.
From just inside the 10, This is Jackson. Jackson gaining 3. Darren Sharper made the tackle. Vikings have lost linebacker Keith Newman out with a sprained right knee. He will not return.
But he's one of those guys that Ted Cottrell has brought with him. Ted had him in Buffalo, and he's brought a lot of guys from Buffalo with him. Pat Williams was with him there. Newman was there. Antoine Winfield, Kenny Urban, all these guys.
Sam Cowart,
starting middle linebacker, with him at Buffalo. No secret why this defense has played well. They know what Ted wants. They understand what he demands.
5 former Bills on this Vikings defense. 2nd down and 17. Fitzpatrick with time, airing it out, looking for Kevin Curtis, and it is intercepted by Brian Williams. His 3rd pick of the season.
And the turnovers keep coming for this defense. This is one of the reasons why they've been able to turn things around. You stop the run, you back them up, and you force them to throw it deep. Brian Williams knows that Kevin Curtis has great speed. He knows he's got to get on his horse here. That Brian Williams never slowed down, and the ball came to him. See, Kevin Curtis slowed down. He slowed down. Brian Williams never did. He got an eye on the ball and never lost stride. And so the ball came to him. Had Kevin Curtis not slowed down when he looked back for the ball, he might have gotten the ball.
First turnover of this game. Vikings take over on their own 37-yard line. Johnson steps up, and then a little sidearm toss to Mewelde Moore, and he gains 7 out to the 44.
And that whole North Carolina State connection just gets stronger. Brian Williams making a play. Corin Robinson making a play. Brian Williams telling Mike Tice, Corin Robinson's out there. He wants to keep playing. Phone call made and all. You know, you just start getting good synergy going between everybody. Brian Williams played with Torrey Holt at North Carolina State. He said he was a worker. He was a student of the game. Corin Robinson was just a tremendous athlete and great talent.
2nd and 3. Michael Bennett into Rams territory. A 1st down and more. Down to the St. Louis 41-yard line, a 15-yard gain.
And really the athletic offensive line here of Minnesota. Watch Melvin Fowler right here. The center pull out. He gets the lead block. And when Mike Tice was coaching the offensive line for Brian Billick here, he had Jeff Christie, you know, at center. He had Randall McDaniel at guard. And those guys both made the Pro Bowl because they could pull and lead and get to the perimeter, get to the edge. And right now, Mike Tice is so happy because he's got linemen that can do that right now.
He loves the athleticism of this offensive line. From the Rams 42, Bennett this time is bottled up by Tino Isimo. Loss of 1 on the play, and that will take us to the 2-minute warning as the Vikings look to capitalize on the Rams turnover and add to their 7-point lead. The numbers for the Minnesota Vikings defense on the left over their first 7 games when they went 2-5. And over the last 5, look at the takeaway column. 16 over the last 5 games, and they add the interception moments ago.
Yeah, and that's what they've done here today. They've given up less than 100 yards of offense to the Rams. They got the turnover there by Brian Williams. Got a nice kickoff return by Corin Robinson, led to a field goal last drive. So the offense catching up, defense keeping them in game. Special teams been a big bonus. Offense trying to catch up here.
2nd down and 11. Off the play fake. Johnson to the outside, and nice attempt by Jermaine Wiggins, but he could not hold on. Hit by Adam Archuleta. So a 3rd down and 11 coming up. Each team with 2 timeouts remaining.
Good hit that time by Archuleta, a guy that they've missed the last couple of weeks. Been out with that concussion syndrome. Head just hasn't cleared up, and really Joe Vitt was just hoping that he'd come in here and not try to run into a brick wall the first couple of series, just kind of get into a flow of a game, and that was his first good impactful hit of the day.
Vikings have to get to the Rams 32 for a 1st down. 3 wide receivers set. Johnson over the middle, incomplete. Intended for Travis Taylor.
Rams blitzed Brad Johnson that time, and the Vikings did a good job of picking it up. Brad got rid of that football. I mean, they just missed the catch. But you look at this Viking team, Kenny, and here it is. I mean, last week they got a couple of big plays on offense, but really that's what's in front of them right now. If they're going to play Pittsburgh next week and Baltimore and Chicago, some good defenses that they've got to get better on offense against.
Bennett's fourth punt and a fair catch at the 11-yard line by David Allen. Punt of 33 yards. Coming up on our Visa halftime report, JB, Terry, Howie, and Jimmy will bring you scores and highlights from around the National Football League. And you can check out our Fox Sports ticker as well. That's all coming up on our Visa halftime report. So the Rams take over on their own 11. Ryan Fitzpatrick making his second start. Jamie Martin knocked out of the game 2 weeks ago. He is the backup today. Mark Bulger not in uniform this afternoon, out with the shoulder injury. Worst starting field position of the day for the Rams from the 11. And there is career catch number 800 for Isaac Bruce. 14th player to reach 800 receptions. Keenan McCardell got there last week.
Entire career with the Rams, started with the Los Angeles Rams in '94. Made the move to St. Louis.
False start, offense number 76. 5-yard penalty, still second down.
That's on Orlando Pace, the left tackle. Isaac Bruce has got to 4 Pro Bowls, 7 1,000-yard seasons, and of course, 1 Super Bowl title.
And he sets the standard here at wide receiver. Torrey Holt, Phil Dodd, followed him, and now Kevin Curtis and Sean McDonald are trying to live up to the standard.
Fitzpatrick on 2nd and 10, intended for Curtis, picked off by Antoine Winfield.
And he just floated that ball. That ball just hung in the air, and the turnovers keep coming. The gifts keep coming for this Viking defense. That's the last thing that Joe Vitt and the Rams wanted, was a turnover in their own end here. Here's Winfield right here, playing the nickel back. He's just playing zone and looking at Fitzpatrick the whole time. That ball just hung. I mean, that ball never had a chance to get to Kevin Curtis.
So Fitzpatrick picked off twice on his last 3 pass attempts. 4th interception of the season for Winfield.
Momentum play.
Johnson to the outside, Wiggins. He's tackled by Corey Ivy after a pickup of 3.
Just one right there. Mike Tice going to call one of those plays to go to the end zone. I think he wants to take some time off the clock here, work it a little bit right now as well. Not allow Ryan Fitzpatrick to get back out onto the field. What you'd ultimately like here is a touchdown as time runs off the clock at the end of the first half. All those things go into play calling and managing a football game, which Mike Tice is getting better at.
On 2nd and 8, Johnson was looking for Marcus Robinson. So now a 3rd down and 8 coming up for the Vikings, who lead the game 10-3. The only touchdown scored on a pitch to wide receiver Corin Robinson. Took it in from 13 yards out. Teams have exchanged field goals here in the second quarter.
Mike Tice is just overseeing the offense right now. Steve Loney is the offensive coordinator. He actually calls the play. Mike Tice hears it coming through his headset, and he's got an open mic to Steve Loney. He can change the play, add to it, whatever he wants.
3rd down and 8, Johnson out of the shotgun. Johnson to the end zone, incomplete. Nate Burleson, the intended receiver, double coverage from the Rams secondary.
And the Rams are really playing an aggressive game. They are coming here to win, and defensively, this is the best this team has played in the first half in a long time. I mean, it's just a triple blitz right up the middle. Brad Johnson waited as long as he could. At the same time, they still got a double team at the back end. That's a good scheme right there by the Rams.
So now Paul Ettinger, who hit from 37 earlier this quarter, will attempt a 44-yard field goal. Johnson is the holder. Ettinger's kick is good. So the Vikings capitalize on the Fitzpatrick interception. They now lead the Rams by 10. Under a minute remaining in this first half. From the Metrodome in Minneapolis, Kenny Albert with Brian Baldinger. A 13-3 lead for the Minnesota Vikings, who have won their last 5. David Allen on the return for the Rams. Stuck at the 25-yard line, 19 yards on the return by Allen. Well, coming up on January 2nd, join Fox for one of college football's most storied bowl games. Some of the greatest names have taken part in the past. This year, Texas Tech battles Alabama in the first ever meeting between these historic programs. The 70th AT&T Cotton Bowl Classic, January 2nd at 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific on Fox.
I'm looking forward to it. The Red Raiders and the Crimson Tide, 2 good football teams this year. And anybody that's watched Texas Tech, they're a little bit like the Rams used to be. They throw it every single down.
Marshall Faulk bottled up. Matt Morgan now in at left tackle. Orlando Pace suffering from a strained groin, so Morgan, who was brought back from the practice squad this week by the Rams out of the University of Pittsburgh, is on the field here in Minnesota.
Yeah, and Orlando Pace has battled those injuries over the last couple of weeks. And really, the changes just keep coming on the offensive line. Matt Morgan was released. He wasn't even part of the team last week. Brought him back this week when Alex Barron was out.
Orlando Pace has gone to the last 6 Pro Bowls representing the Rams.
And there's nothing worse. There's no worse feeling for Matt Morgan than they're going to drop back and throw the football. You can't hear. They're down by 10 points. You got to catch up, and blocking one of the best pass rushers in the league, Lance Johnstone, out here.
Here's Faulk, and Marshall Faulk is close to a first down out at the 35-yard line.
You know, one thing about this Viking defense that I don't think anybody else in the league knows is they've given up the fewest passes over 16 yards in the league, fewer than Chicago. And so they haven't given up any big pass plays today. They've come up with 2 interceptions. Their secondary is playing as well as any team in football now.
Fitzpatrick to Sean McDonald. Picks up the first down out at the 47, gain of 12. Clock stops with 15 seconds remaining in the half.
Yeah, and the enemy here is the clock. And so the Vikings are giving them the things in front of them right now. Fitzpatrick would love another 15-yard completion here and give their kicker, Jeff Wilkins, a shot at a field goal.
Remember, he hit from 51 earlier in this quarter, so Rams need about 20 more yards.
He had to get to about the 35-yard line to be in a safe distance for him to try.
Rams have 2 timeouts from the 46. Fitzpatrick to a wide open Faulk, and Marshall takes it down to the 41. Rams use a timeout with 7 seconds remaining in this first half. Seven seconds remaining in the half. Line of scrimmage is the Vikings 41. The Rams do have 1 timeout remaining, so a chance here for a quick play to gain some more yardage, call timeout, and then send out Jeff Wilkins.
Yeah, and as a receiver, you can catch a ball and give yourself up and stop the clock, call the timeout right there, and allow Wilkins to come out onto the field.
4 receivers set, 7 seconds remaining. And Fitzpatrick is going deep. Penalty marker. Torrey Holt was the intended receiver. Time has run out, but the half cannot end on a defensive penalty.
No, they could still have 1 untimed down play if this is truly defensive pass interference here. And then the decision, if it is to go for the touchdown or to come out and try the field goal.
Defensive pass interference. Number 27 will extend the half by 1 play.
So it is on Fred Smoot. So the Rams will get 1 more play.
We'll take a look at it down here. That's what they're calling. They're calling Fred Smoot right here, grabbing that jersey. Fred Smoot, who's been out the last couple of weeks, did not need to do that right there.
So Jeff Wilkins comes out. Line of scrimmage is the 5, so this will be a 23-yard attempt. Rams picked up 36 yards on the penalty, leading to a 23-yard field goal attempt for Wilkins, who hit from 51 earlier. So that penalty called on Smoot basically gives the Rams 3 free points. They pull to within a touchdown as the half comes to an end. The Visa Halftime Report is coming up after these messages.
The Visa Halftime Report is sponsored by Visa. With Visa, you're protected.
All right, for those of you watching Chicago, Pittsburgh, St. Louis, and Minnesota, the Bears have allowed the most points in the first half this season against that team, and who's that?
Jerome Bettis. We did a nice feature on, at least Jay Glazer did on our pregame show. Very nice. All right, Steelers opening drive, a little screen pass out to Willie Parker. He takes it 45 yards. Great blocking downfield. The Bears had yet to give up a opening drive touchdown all year. Another fake run, reverse, screen to the wide receiver. There it is, Hines Ward. Great effort by Ward. 14-yard touchdown, 7-0. Then Bettis from 1 yard out. Another touchdown. Steelers awfully impressive in the first half. Score 14-3. Steelers over the visiting Chicago Bears. All right, Vikings owner Ziggy Whip. How you doing there, owner? Man, it must be nice to be rich. I got a cash flow problem. Corey Robinson, a little reverse, 13-yard touchdown run. His first run for a touchdown on the season. Minnesota up 7-0.
Jimmy's fishing partner will like that one. Go ahead.
Second quarter, Corey Robinson. Not only can he go deep and catch passes deep, he's excellent on kickoff returns, as you see right here. This 61-yarder leads to a Viking field goal. Good effort by Corey Robinson. It is 10-3 Vikings over the Rams. 13-6 now is your halftime score. Tampa Bay at Carolina. John Gruden remembers that 9th week of the season in which his Buccaneers got beat 34-14 by Carolina. Watches Cadillac Williams go off tackle for a 14-yard touchdown. Bucks up 7-0 early. Then Smith, top right of his screen, goes up, gets nailed, smoked here by Will Allen. A legal hit. He is able to walk off the field 10-0. Tampa Bay right now, Jimmy Howie and JB, and what could be by some standards a shocker.
Colts can clinch the top seed and home field advantage with a win there for their head. New England, Jimmy says they're dangerous. Look out. Watch them in the postseason. Up 14-0. The Bengals can clinch the AFC North with a win and a loss by the Steelers, although the Steelers are winning right now. Jets looking to win consecutive regular season contests against the Raiders for the first time in 40 years. Texans, David Carr sacked 5 times already. He was sacked 7 times in the first meeting between these squads. Chicago and Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Pittsburgh 192 yards against that great Chicago defense. Half of that coming on screen passes. You know, in order to run a screen, fans say, throw the screen, throw the screen. You can't run the screen if you have the big road graders in the offensive line. You got to have an athletic group that can get out in space, you know, and be able to block people in the open areas. Pittsburgh's got a very athletic offensive line. That's why they can run the screen passes.
You know, the resurgence of Minnesota goes a little bit beyond Brad Johnson and Bennett and that defense. Corn Robinson, extraordinary talent that you don't really know about, who was in Seattle. Mike Holmgren one time said he's the most talented player on our football team, including Sean Alexander. His problems off the field were well documented, has returned to Minnesota. He's a guy that's really a big part of their turnaround. This is a great talent, folks. If he can get it together, he could be one of the great wide receivers in this league.
And 2 thoughts on screens real quickly. Back to the Bears-Steeler game is blitzes, catch them on a screen. Right. Everybody's past you. That works well. The other thing, Jimmy, is the fact you don't see a lot of teams run screens because the offensive linemen are so big. I know in Dallas, you didn't do a lot of screens. Your team was just so big.
They were so big they couldn't get out in space and block people in the open field. And so they were much better at moving somebody out rather than getting in the open field.
So therefore, if I were on the offensive line,
if you were on the offensive line, we would know you because you're one athletic dude. Don't you go putting yourself down. Now send us out of here, JV.
You know what? Little question and answer the next halftime, folks.
Halftime in Minneapolis. Vikings lead the Rams by the score of 13-6. It was a 10-point game until Fred Smoot was called for pass interference. Jeff Wilkins kicked a 23-yard field goal, and that is where we stand. A 7-point Vikings lead. Minnesota Vikings over the St. Louis Rams as we take a look now at first half numbers.
Well, it's the same formula that has allowed the Vikings to win 5 in a row. Excellent defense, good special teams, creating turnovers, and shutting down the other team's offense. And so, really, when you look at this Viking team with a month to go here, halfway through this game, is can they sustain enough offense? And so, right now, they're 1 for 7 on third down. And they're not doing a good job of handling the Rams' blitz. The Rams have nothing to lose. So they're going after Brad Johnson like crazy on third down. They've got to be able to handle that right now, Kenny, I think, if they're going to be able to sustain offense and score a lot more points in the second half.
Specifically, what do the Vikings need to do offensively that they have not done over the first half?
Well, you'd like to be able to get Brad Johnson more comfortable, and that means being able to find the open receiver when the Rams come after him. I think they're protecting him okay. Just give him a little bit more time to find the open guy and then hit him, because the receivers right now in the first half, Kenny, only have 2 receptions.
The only touchdown scored on a running play by Corin Robinson. 13-yard touchdown run in the first quarter for the Vikings. A look at the first half fantasy numbers. Brad Johnson, 61 yards in the air. Michael Bennett, 38 on the ground. And Corin Robinson with the only touchdown. For more, log on to foxsports.com on MSN. Before this second half gets underway, we send it down to the third member of our broadcast team here in Minneapolis, Dawn Mitchell. Dawn?
Well, Kenny, this second half is all about game planning against 2 old friends and tweaking it, and they're both mad. Mike Tice said what he needs to do is have his team score when they get a pickoff. And as for Joe Vitt, he said, we're not changing one darn thing. We just need to run better. We need to tackle better on defense. We just need to play better, but I'm not changing a single thing. So the second half should be interesting.
All right, thanks, Dawn. And Brian, Dawn mentioned 2 old friends, Mike Tice and Joe Vitt, worked together in Seattle.
Mike Tice was a player in Seattle when Joe Vitt was coaching linebackers up there. In fact, in 1986, Joe Vitt lost his father to cancer. Mike Tice lost his father to cancer during that football season, and it brought those 2 guys even closer together.
In fact, Rusty Tillman, the Vikings special teams coach, was also up in Seattle. Joe Vitt was in his wedding party. Corin Robinson with a big return for Rusty Tillman back in the first half. And this return, 20 yards. Corin Robinson, the only player in the NFL this season with at least 1 touchdown reception, 1 touchdown run, which came back in the first half of this game, and a kick return touchdown against the New York Giants in November.
3 ways. Corin Robinson 3 ways right here, and probably will find a way for a 4th way before the season's over.
Johnson in trouble on first down, throws it away. In fact, Mewelde Moore, Corin Robinson's teammate, the only player in the NFL this year with a rushing touchdown, a receiving touchdown, and a punt return touchdown. By the way, there was a late flag. Looks like Johnson will be called for intentional grounding.
Well, he was in that pocket, that area between the 2 tackles.
Offense, no receiver in the area. 10-yard penalty. Repeat, first down. Lost it down. Second down.
Kenny, I said at halftime that the Vikings have to be able to handle the blitz, and here's Adam Archuleta sneaking up here. He's the one that gets pressure right here on Brad Johnson. He gets through. See, he throws this ball right here, and there's really nobody, no receiver in that area. And so the blitz game right now of the Rams is really dictating this Viking offense. They're struggling to be able to handle it and to make him pay for it. So much about the blitz, Kenny, is all about the timing of it. Sometimes you can see it, you can anticipate it, you have guys to block for it, but the timing is so key. Hitting the line of scrimmage full speed at the snap.
Now second down and 20. Johnson complete to Jermaine Wiggins. And Wiggins is tackled as he crosses the 15 by the combination of Ryan Pickett and Brandon Chiller. Gain of just 4.
Just looking at Damian Lewis right there and Pickett jumping around and playing with a lot of energy, and that's what you want to see. I mean, there's going to be a coaching change in St. Louis. It's been a difficult season. Mike Martz was there this week, but he doesn't really interact with any of the players, very little with the coaches right now. And so what you want to see is, you know what, as Joe Fitz said, our resume is on display every play. You want to see these guys playing with a lot of emotion here the last month.
3rd down and 17. Johnson complete. Travis Taylor, but not enough for the 1st down. Joe Vitt took over when Mike Martz was hospitalized about 8 weeks ago. He was the linebackers coach and assistant coach in the NFL for 27 years. His first job with the Baltimore Colts, he was Ted Marchibroda's gopher.
Yeah, he took over for Bill Belichick, who was the original gopher for Ted Marchibroda. Hadn't done too bad. And really, Joe Vitt is a lot like Bill Belichick. He still coaches the linebackers as a head coach, and it's in his blood. I mean, he's not going to do anything else in this world except coach.
Punt is scooped up and taken into Vikings territory by Otagwe. Only a 25-yard punt by Darren Bennett. So terrific starting field position for Ryan Fitzpatrick and the Rams. The Vikings lead is 7 as the Rams take over in Minnesota territory. Orlando Pace, who suffered that strained groin in the first half, has returned. The numbers on Fitzpatrick: 2 interceptions in the second quarter, 12 of 19. In his 6 quarters now as a starting quarterback, the Rams have scored only 1 touchdown, and it was Fitzpatrick who scored it last week. The 2 Viking interceptions, the first by Williams and then Winfield.
Yeah, you know, and the Vikings really only got a field goal out of those turnovers, so it's not like it's costing them right now. I mean, even at the end of the half, Rams were able to come down and get a field goal. So, I mean, look, as bad as they've been on offense right now today, and as good as the Vikings defense has been, it's a 1-score game. Even last week in that loss to Washington, it was 10-7. The Redskins leading going into the 4th quarter, and they had plenty of opportunities to make some plays to get the lead at that point. They weren't able to sustain offense themselves.
We check out other scores on our Fox Box. How about Tampa Bay leading Carolina 10-0? Steven Jackson up the middle, down to the 45-yard line, brought down by Darian Scott.
You know, just because a team like the Vikings is on a 5-game win streak, the Rams look like they're out of the playoffs, Carolina has dominated Tampa. Records have nothing to do with what teams do against each other. I mean, Tampa Bay is desperate down there. They have to go win that game to stay in it. And so desperate teams, they're just a little crisper. They're a little bit more attentive. Right now, Rams with nothing really to gain except go play a good football game right in this thing.
Fitzpatrick complete. Torrey Holt picks up a 1st down at the Minnesota 36, brought down by Winfield.
I would say right now that that's the one guy that Ryan Fitzpatrick feels most comfortable with. We've watched him on tape against Houston. We watched him last week against the Redskins, and now so far this week, it looks like Torrey Holt with his 5th catch. That's the guy that he leans on. And he's their best player. He's the best wide receiver they have. So that's not unusual, but it looks like they have good timing as well.
2 tight ends from the Vikings 36. Hand off to Jackson. And Jackson gains a couple before he is forced back by Pat Williams.
Now, Pat Williams is in the middle of that line, and everybody in Minnesota says that's our run stopper. That's what he does as he tries to buckle up that chin strap, and that's a big part of it. You know, is just the girth right there. One guy can't block him. But then the one thing that is hidden in that girth, in that Santa Claus-looking belly, is a guy, he has great mobility and great side-to-side movement. And so he isn't just a one-stop guy. He can move from sideline to sideline.
Play action on 2nd and 8. And that pass is incomplete. It was bobbled by Bruce, although it looks like initially it was ruled to completion, but now the officials say otherwise.
3rd down.
So a 3rd down and 8 coming up. Bruce has had trouble with a couple of passes from Fitzpatrick today.
Yeah, I mean, the passes aren't perfect. It's not exactly where Kurt Warner used to put them. You still got to be able to catch those balls. You got to help out your rookie quarterback here.
stuck on 800.
I don't think he's going to be stuck for that much longer, though, Kenny. I mean, he'll get through that hurdle.
Bruce split to the right, Holt to the left, Curtis in the slot. 3rd down and 8, and there is Isaac Bruce, career reception number 801.
See, he wasn't going to get stuck too long. You see, though, I mean, that's been the continuum in this offense is Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt. And they know they got a rookie quarterback back there. They got to help him out here. One thing about that Fitzpatrick, when he throws a ball, that thing hardly ever wobbles. I was watching him in pregame throw the football. There's something about a quarterback that just throws a tight spiral. It's a pretty looking pass when it comes out of his hand.
And he had all of one scholarship offer coming out of high school. Fitzpatrick takes off inside the 5 to the end zone. Touchdown.
So 2 touchdowns in 2 weeks for the Rams, and both of them on runs by Fitzpatrick to the right. He's got good skills. Watch the play action fake here. Watch him hide this ball on his hip here. Good skills. He said he's always paid a lot of attention to the fundamentals like that. I tell you, he looks like a pretty good running back when he gets into the open space. He made a quick decision right there to pull that ball down.
Jeff Wilkins out for the extra point. The Rams have scored the last 10 points of the game after falling behind 13-3. Second rushing touchdown in as many weeks for Ryan Fitzpatrick. Rams and Vikings now tied at 13, a 6-play, 49-yard drive. Fitzpatrick 2 of 3 in the air and the 14-yard touchdown run. Wilkins kickoff, taking 3 yards deep in the end zone by Robinson. He hurdles one Ram, hurdled Dane Looker, and is brought down at the 20 by Drew Walrus. Well, Brian, Ryan Fitzpatrick, one of 3 NFL players, current players out of Harvard, and there is one of the other 2, Matt Burke, the injured Vikings center.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a long list, not a long roll call, but a lot of high SAT scores right there in that group.
Isaiah Kazavensky, linebacker with the Seattle Seahawks.
In fact, I was talking to Ryan Fitzpatrick about his force loads. He said they met each other today
for the first time.
Yeah, Fitzpatrick and Matt were both econ majors, and they said that the playbook is tougher than some of the classes.
Michael Bennett gaining 2 on first down, stopped by Leonard Little.
You know, like if you're a Harvard grad, I mean, you know if somebody else went to Harvard in the league, you want to meet them, and you're looking forward to that meeting. Matt here, who'd been a Pro Bowl player and forced out this season with some injuries to his hip and to his groin area. He'll be back next year healthy. He wants to go see what the guy is about, see what he's like, and you hope that he has success in this league, just not against your team.
From the 22 on 2nd down and 8, and Corin Robinson able to make the catch and picks up the first down. Brad Johnson able to chuckle about that pass.
Well, he's been under siege by the blitz of the Rams all day, and he got hit. That ball popped right out. Watch Pisatino Isamoah come right here. He's the one that hits him. Just popped him right on his throwing elbow here. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I mean, duck season is over. I mean, it's ice fishing season now in Minnesota. But there was a wounded duck that got out, and Corin Robinson is the lucky benefactor.
So a first down for the Vikings out at the 38-yard line. Johnson firing to a wide-open Marcus Robinson. First catch today for the former Bear, and he takes it all the way down to the Rams' 13-yard line. A 49-yard pickup.
And that came off a play-action fake, which just held the defense of the Rams just for a second. Watch the play-action fake here, Brad Johnson. Turns his back to the defense. Linebackers get sucked up. Opens up that window behind the linebackers. Watch Brad Johnson's head gets right around. Well, nice route right there. Good route combination, him and Travis Taylor. And this is what all these receivers can do after the catch. They're all big. They're all fast. They all can do a lot with it afterwards.
From the 13, Bennett. Gain of 6 down to the 7-yard line. Stopped by Archuleta and Pickett.
I'm looking at the right tackle, Marcus Johnson, right now of the Vikings, who's on their kickoff return team. He got hurt on the kickoff return. He's been literally limping through this entire drive at right tackle. He doesn't want to come out of the game. So he's been hobbling around. He's limping right now, just trying to gut it out. And for a rookie, Mike Tice is looking at that. Can he gut it out, stay on the field, get tough here when he has to?
Bennett up the middle, into the end zone, and then he lost the football, but it was already ruled a touchdown.
And that's an impressive drive by the Vikings to come back after the Rams scored, to go take the kickoff and go right down the field 80 yards and to do it like they did. Big plays from the receiver, opens up the running game of Michael Bennett, and answered that score. That's what playoff teams do. They don't play well, they get scored on, boom, right up the middle. Real good job by Herrera inside there and Melvin Fowler, the center.
Second rushing touchdown of the season for Bennett. Scored last week against the Lions. Edinger adds the extra point. So the Vikings back on top. 7-yard touchdown run by Bennett. They lead by a touchdown. Five plays, 80 yards for the Vikings. The big play, the 49-yard reception by Marcus Robinson, and then Michael Bennett into the end zone from 7 yards out. Paul Edinger kicking off to David Allen. Backpedals to the 3. Looks to cut it back inside, and is brought down after a 20-yard return by Antoine Winfield. Wouldn't you love to sit with that guy for a game?
I want to sit with that guy in the old Met. You know, back when it was 30 below on a Sunday.
Back when you were selling popcorn there.
Oh, hot chocolate on a day like today.
First and 10, 23-yard line, Steven Jackson. And Jackson is brought down by Sam Cowart after a gain of 5. We have football for you next Saturday on Fox. Starting at 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 in the morning Pacific, the Tampa Bay Bucks and the New England Patriots, who lead Buffalo right now 21-0. Bucks out on top 13-0 over the Carolina Panthers.
And everybody's been discounting the Patriots with all the injuries this year, and here they are, 7-5, first place, and looking to gain more ground in that AFC East.
Second and 5 toss. Steven Jackson takes it out to the 32, stopped about a yard shy of the marker by Sam Cowart.
Right now, the Patriots looking to go 8-5 and gain a little more separation with Miami. The Bucks winning at Carolina here today, trying to stay on their heels, trying to pull in for a tie in first place with Carolina after today. Big national TV game here on Fox, and the football only gets bigger and better every week, all the way through right now.
Patriots can clinch the division with a win, and a loss by Miami later today in San Diego.
These Viking fans know what the playoffs are all about. They won a game up in Lambeau Field last year.
Back in Minneapolis, a 7-point lead for the Vikings. 6:42 remaining, third quarter. Fans on their feet, third down and 2 for the Rams. They have to get to the 33-yard line for a first down. Fitzpatrick can't find anyone, still on his feet, and he dives for the first down.
That's some athletic ability right there by Ryan Fitzpatrick. Something you wouldn't normally think you'd see from a Harvard graduate. He got himself out of some trouble there. Watch this. I mean, this is a roll left here. Trying to set his feet. Pressure from the backside by Darian Scott. Breaks that tackle. You see a lot of quarterbacks breaking two-arm tackles with defensive ends in this league and then scooting up for the first down.
Kane Looker in motion from the 34. Inside handoff, Jackson. And he's wrapped up by Sam Cowart. Loss of 1 on the play as we check in with old number 14, James Brown.
Hey, Kenny, Brian Baldinger will love this run by Jerome Bettis. Watch him run over number 43, Mike Green, the free safety. Then Brian Urlacher, number 54. Yeah, that's the bus's way to run it. 21-3, Pittsburgh on top. Hey, Kenny and Brian, I'm sorry that wasn't wearing a stocking cap back in the day that you saw the big old hairdo back from Harvard days. Back to Kenny and Brian.
JB, it wasn't in style back then, but that looks like Steeler football right there with the bus. And that's good news for the Viking fans here.
Bears 8-game win streak in jeopardy. Third interception thrown by Fitzpatrick today. It's the second for Brian Williams. And Williams takes it all the way back, then lost the football, but it looks like the Vikings recovered. Pat Williams fell on it after the strip. So Fitzpatrick picked off for the third time, and Williams brought it back 31 yards.
Yeah, and his receiver, Torrey Holt, fell down on the play. Here's Torrey Holt on the outside, working one-on-one with Brian Williams. See, he fell, never got back on his feet, and that's that timing offense. I mean, Ryan Fitzpatrick is told to throw it to a spot. Throw it right to the numbers, and that's what he did. But if the receiver's down, you know what? That's Fitzpatrick right there, Williams that comes up with the ball.
So Isaac Bruce slipped, and Brian Williams comes up with his second interception today, his fourth of the season. Michael Bennett gains a yard down to the St. Louis 20.
Yeah, I guess that was Isaac Bruce that slipped on the outside.
And there's Isaac on the Rams sideline.
That's always been the problem with people that want to implement a timing offense where you're throwing it to spots. There's got to be such a trust that if the receiver does fall, you can't fault the quarterback. He's doing his job, throwing it to that spot. The receiver's not allowed to fall in this offense. Otherwise, bad plays like that can happen.
Nate Burleson split to the left, Corin Robinson to the right. Second down and 9. Play action. Johnson to Burleson. Burleson gaining 8 yards down to the 13.
Well, this is exactly the way the Vikings weren't playing in the first 7 weeks of the season when they were 2-5. They were the ones that were committing the turnovers. They were the ones that couldn't convert. And right now, it's completely reversed. Viking defense continues to get the ball back for the offense. Brad Johnson continues to take care of the football, not turn it over, and sometimes it just comes down to the turnover game. Who can get the takeaways and who isn't?
Teatrick Faison picks up the first down. The rookie out of Florida all the way down to the 5-yard line as Faison gains 7.
You know, and I'm looking down there at that offensive line. That's the other part that was broken at the start of the season. And they've made wholesale changes up front. Herrera now is at left guard. Melvin Fowler was traded from Cleveland to Minnesota. He's at center. Rookie Marcus Johnson is now at right tackle. And rookie Teatrick Faison is carrying the football. It's completely rebuilt here in the second half of the season.
Faison in the backfield. Johnson to the end zone. Corey Ivy on the coverage on Corin Robinson, and there is a penalty marker.
Defensive pass interference, number 35, in the end zone, first and goal on the 1-yard line.
I'm just watching the offensive lineman here. Well, we'll take a look here. This is just a huge mismatch. You get one-on-one on the outside with Corin Robinson. That's all Corey Ivy hopes he can do right there. He's just knock him off the ball.
As we mentioned earlier, Brad Johnson knows Corey Ivy very well. Teammates in Tampa Bay.
During their Super Bowl run and Super Bowl victory.
Faison in the backfield. Owens the fullback. And Teatrick Faison is in for his third touchdown of the season. Faison, the third-string running back, leads the Vikings in rushing touchdowns.
They like the rookie from Florida. I mean, he's a tough inside runner. He's got good vision and quickness, and Joe Vitt looking up there saying, wasn't it just 13-13 a couple of minutes ago, right back in the game?
2 touchdowns in under 5 minutes. And the Vikings have now scored 10 points off turnovers.
Yeah, and you know, that's just been the formula, and it just continues. So it starts with the Brian Williams interception. Second week in a row, I've talked to the defensive backs of the opposing team of Ryan Fitzpatrick, and they're like, no rookie quarterback is going to beat us. Now, I tell you, the offensive linemen, I'm watching the guys sitting down there, Faison's congratulating. Those guys are excited. And it's good to see Marcus Johnson, a rookie, Herrera, all those guys inside, Bryant McKinney, those guys are playing the game up front with a lot of emotion.
The Vikings look to become the 4th team to start the season 2-5 and go to the playoffs. The Saints did it back in 1990, the Lions in 95, and they won a playoff game, and then the Jets in 02.
Remember, that was Wayne Fonse's team. They won out at the end of the season, got to the playoffs, ended up losing to the Eagles that year. And then the Jets a couple of years ago with Herman Edwards got off to a bad start, finished strong.
Vikings started 2-5, wins over the Lions, the Giants, the Packers, the Browns, and the Lions again. Allen from the goal line. Whew. Oh, big hit made at the 20 as Allen is met by E.J. Henderson after a 20-yard return.
Yeah, you know, and that's what the Vikings have going for them down the stretch. They still have 2 more home games out of the final 3 games, and the crowd is with them right now. It's going to be more fun to come to work every day. You know, the month of December, Pittsburgh comes to town next week. It's like they're having some fun out in Heinz Field today against the Chicago Bears. I mean, that game is just huge. It tilts the whole balance of power. The Bears would fall back a game. The Vikings could gain a game here. Be a 1-game separation with 3 to play.
The Vikings have already lost to the Bears this year, 28-3 in Chicago. Fitzpatrick with loads of time, and now he throws, and the catch is made by Isaac Bruce out at the 39-yard line, a 19-yard pass play.
I'll tell you, the guy that feels left out in this whole thing for the Vikings is Darren Sharper today. I mean, nobody has more interceptions in this league since 2000 than Darren Sharper with 38, and he's a true thief back there. And every play, he has his eyes on the quarterback and eyes on his responsibility. And he's always looking for that opportunity to go jump a route. 3 interceptions today, none for Sharper. He's feeling lonely.
Torrey Holt makes the catch in Vikings territory, so Fitzpatrick comes out firing, 19 yards to Bruce, and now 17 yards to Holt.
Sharper was just a little bit late that time getting up there. Just a little late reading that throw that time. Watch Sharper right here. I mean, he's going to read this play and come up. He ends up making the initial hit. See that dig route, that route coming inside? That can be his interception there if he reads it a little quick.
From the 44, Steven Jackson. Jackson up the middle, down to the 37-yard line of the Vikings. A gain of 7, setting up a 2nd down and 3.
I think with still a full 4th quarter to go, and the fact that this Ram team came back from 17 points down on the road in Houston a couple of weeks ago, that they don't have to panic. And that's Steve Jackson. There's a statistic out there in the league that who breaks the most amount of tackles. He's 5th in the league at breaking the most amount of tackles right now. That's when you look for it in the 4th quarter.
2nd and 3. Fitzpatrick pump fake. Now he throws. Intended for Bruce, and it's dropped by Sharper.
Look, okay, he can't believe it. He got 2 hands on the ball, read the play perfectly, and he said, that's the thing. That's the reason why I have so many interceptions. I've got great hands, and right here, we might have jinxed him here. Good ISO right there. Usually, he doesn't drop that ball. That's his catch.
He has 7 interceptions this season, 6 over the last 5 games. And he's watched Williams pick off 2 today and Winfield with the other.
He's going to blame that on Antoine Winfield for tripping him up right there.
So now a 3rd down and 3. Bad snap. Fitzpatrick could not handle the snap. And he's forced to fall on it. Setting up a 4th and about 5 as we send it to Los Angeles once again. And James Brown.
Hey, Kenny and Brian, Carolina was driving, threatening big time here. Jake Delhomme back to pass, picked off by Rondé Barber. You know he had 3 picks last week. That's 4 picks in the last 2 weeks. Nice return, stopping that drive and that threat right there. Back to Kenny Albert and Brian Baldwin.
All right, thanks, JB. Rams going for it here on 4th and 6 from the Vikings 40. And a penalty marker prior to the snap.
This may change their...
False start offense number 66. 5-yard penalty, still 4th down.
That's on the right tackle, Rex Tucker.
And that'll change their thought about going for it on 4th down.
So the Rams will send out the punting unit, Brian Barker. Mike Tice's Vikings leading Joe Vitt's Rams by 2 touchdowns. 27-13 late 3rd quarter.
That's just that jerk right there, and that's just crowd noise. Can't hear the snap count, think you heard it, not sure if you did, and you flinch.
Fair catch at the 10-yard line by Mewelde Moore. 35-yard punt by Barker. Next Sunday on Fox, Week 15, many of you will see the Rams hosting the Eagles. Second game of our Fox doubleheader, the Cowboys and the Redskins. 2 playoff hopeful teams. Cowboys 7-5, Redskins 6-6.
Of course, Kansas City goes into Dallas later this afternoon. Big game for the Cowboys, trying to come off that defeat to the Giants last week.
Redskins visiting the Arizona Cardinals. And former Vikings head coach Denny Green as Bennett gains 4 out to the 14-yard line. Time winding down in this 3rd quarter. The Rams tie the game early in the quarter on Fitzpatrick's touchdown run. Tied it at 13, but the Vikings came back. 2 touchdown runs in under 5 minutes. First Bennett and then Faison. So after 3, it's Minnesota 27, St. Louis 13. Fox NFL Sunday will return after these messages.
You're watching the NFL on Fox.
Vikings by 2 touchdowns as we get set for this 4th quarter.
You think the Vikings were just going back in the day when they were coming to discover America?
Only if our director, Michael Frank, supplied iPods for them.
Let me tell you something. I think that those Viking cheerleaders should have a Christmas video, holiday video.
Did you buy a couple?
Yeah. Oh, I got a couple stocking stuffers.
Michael Bennett losing 4 yards on 1st down as we head west to James Brown.
Hey, Kenny, take a look at this. Kyle Orton, you know, under all kinds of pressure there in Chicago to deliver big plays. Here he does, 43 yards through the air to Bernard Berrien. That set up a 1-yard TD run by Thomas Jones for the score. The point after is missed. 21-9 Pittsburgh, 13:31 left in regulation. Back to Kenny and Brian.
Kenny, that's what it used to look like in Bloomington, Minnesota, many Sundays at Metropolitan Stadium. And that was a lot of fun back then when it was an open-air stadium.
Johnson out of the end zone hitting Bennett. And the Vikings will be forced to punt.
Remember that, Kenny, back there at Metropolitan Stadium, both teams were on the same sideline. Both teams would be on that sideline over there. And one thing that Ziggy Wilf came in when he was announcing plans for a new stadium here in Anoka was that he was going to have also that ability to have open-air stadium. And I think that appeals to the people here in Minnesota that likes to spend their winters outdoors. Unlike you, Kenny, when you just fly to Florida when it gets cold. They like to stay here and enjoy it.
Wasn't too bad today.
No, balmy almost.
As opposed to Friday when we flew in and the announced temperature was 3 degrees.
There's always a windshield. There's always a windshield with that 3. It's minus something if it's only 3.
With producer Pete Macheska, director Michael Frank, associate director Barry Landis, we welcome you back to Minneapolis. Kenny Albert, Brian Baldinger. A 1st and 10 for the Rams from their own 45 following the punt. Steven Jackson on 1st down, gaining 4 out to the 49, brought down by Pat Williams, setting up 2nd down and 6.
Ryan Fitzpatrick so far in his 2 starts, 4 interceptions. Coming off a game where he came in for an injured Jamie Martin 2 weeks ago in Houston, where he threw 3 touchdown passes, no interceptions.
There's Martin on the right.
Yeah, Jamie Martin there on the right, Mark Bolger on the left. Talked to Mark before the game. That shoulder still has a lot of fluid in the AC joint that he's got to get out.
Fitzpatrick on 2nd down, had that pass batted back by Rennell Smith.
Yeah. Rennell Smith is a guy that was a 2nd-round pick 4 years ago from Washington State, had a lot of injuries, but really, they're getting great contributions now from a lot of players. I mean, Rennell Smith now has a package. In fact, just about every one of their defensive players has a prominent role on this defense right now in some way. 3rd down package, they have their dime package, 6 defensive backs, 1 linebacker, and a lot of guys getting on the field and contributing right now.
3rd down and 6. Rams have to get to the 45. And that pass broken up, intended for Isaac Bruce. Ralph Brown on the coverage. So the Rams go 3 and out, and will send out their punter Barker.
Well, it's a tough league to learn on the job. On-the-job training in this business is difficult. I don't care how smart you are, what your Wonderlic tests are, what kind of talent you have. There is just so many great athletes on the field that you have to be perfect some days just to get a completion. That ball was thrown behind the receiver.
Everything went right for Fitzpatrick and the Rams 2 weeks ago after he replaced Jamie Martin. Became the first player in league history to throw an overtime touchdown pass in his debut to Kevin Curtis. Lost his first start last week, trails by 2 touchdowns here today. The Indianapolis Colts can clinch home field throughout the playoffs with a victory today over Jacksonville. Brian, the Colts lead that game 26-3.
And you know what kills me, Kenny, is everybody's saying, boy, Indianapolis has a tough schedule. You know, they got to play Jacksonville. They got to play San Diego. Let me tell you, San Diego and Jacksonville are saying, we got to play the Colts. I mean, the most complete team by far in football. I think that they have an excellent chance of being undefeated.
Johnson incomplete, and there is a flag as he took a hit from Damian Lewis. I guess things were a little different in Indianapolis, Brian, than when you played.
Holding defense number 95. 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Penalty called on Anthony Hargrove. A little different than when you played for that 1-15 Colts squad.
Yeah, you know what's interesting is you look at Joe Vitt, on that 1-15 team, we had an interim head coach, Rick Venturi, and he was a lot like Joe Vitt, a lifetime linebacker coach, defensive coach, and talked the same way as Joe Vitt. Talk tough, emotional, passionate, loves the game, wants his players to love it as much as he does. He said that, you know, every night he wakes up between 2 and 3 in the morning, thinks about what he's going to tell and talk to the team about, goes back and sleep for 2 hours, gets up, and then goes to work for 18 or 20 hours a day.
Big hole for Bennett. Bennett takes it out to the 40, gain of 15.
And this is an athletic group on the offensive line, and they really are getting out. Here's Mike Goldberg getting out right here. The right guard gets out and throws the lead block. So right now, between Goldberg and Fowler and Herrera, Mike Tice has a similar group as when Robert Smith was here, when he had Jeff Christie and Randy McDaniel. And those guys could get out front and be the lead blockers on the edge.
From the 40, end around. And Koren Robinson is knocked out of bounds after a gain of just 2. We check in once again with James Brown.
Hey, Kenny and Brian, take a look at Cadillac Williams helping to make sure that Tampa Bay snaps a 5-game losing streak to Carolina. This one, a 10-yard run to pay dirt, his first multi-touchdown game, and his 5th 100-yard rushing game. That is a team rookie record, up 20-3, 5:33 left in regulation. Back to Kenny and Brian.
So a big day for Chris Sims, Cadillac Williams, and the Tampa Bay Bucks. On 2nd and long, here's Bennett. And Bennett lost the football. Bennett fumbled, and it's recovered by Brandon Chiller. The 4th fumble Bennett has lost this season.
And that's why it's tough to believe in him. Just when you want to give him the ball, you want to feed him, he coughs it up like that. And in a game where you're trying to put it on ice, onto the deep freeze, you can't give the ball back to the Rams in this type of situation here. Got both his center and guard out front there leading the way. Tuck that ball away right there. Great job of knocking that ball loose by Trev Falk and Brandon Chiller recovering.
Remember week 2 in Cincinnati, Bennett lost 2 fumbles. He was in the doghouse for a couple of weeks after that game.
Oh man, the Bengal game was terrible. Looks like Mike Tice is going to challenge this, whether he was down, whether the knee was down when the ball came out.
He was not ruled down by contact on the field, so Mike Tice can challenge this.
I think he's also might be challenging after the fumble. If the Rams could have picked that ball up and moved it. I think the spot.
Minnesota is challenging the ruling on the field of the fumble.
Down.
We'll review the play.
Larry Nemers said they were challenging whether or not it was a fumble. Looks from that replay like it was.
Well, there's no doubt that this is a fumble here. Mike Tice isn't challenging whether it was a fumble. What he's challenging was Brandon Chiller down right here when he recovers this football and when he got up to run. What they're saying is right here, did Travis Taylor, did he touch him when he was on the ground? Any part of a Viking touching him down, Mike Tice could win this challenge, but I don't think he's going to win this. I think the ball is going to stay where it is.
After reviewing the play, the runner was not down by contact. The ball was out before he was tackled. Therefore, the ruling on the field stands. First down, St. Louis.
Well, it sounds like Larry
Minnesota's
Nemers
charged with
did not
their
even
first
look
team
at whether or
timeout.
not Chiller was down. He looked at whether or not it was a fumble. Even if Tice won the challenge, would have been only an 8-yard difference.
Yeah.
So it will be a first down for the Rams on the Vikings 33. Brandon Chiller starting today for the injured Dexter Coakley.
Yeah, it's going to be out for the season. And Vikings lose a timeout on that challenge, too. And they're a costly turnover right there. The thing about this Rams team is with their offensive firepower, they're never out of a football game. You may want to have held on to that timeout.
Here's Steven Jackson. Jackson all the way down to the 29-yard line, gained 5. You talked about the comeback in Houston 2 weeks ago.
I tell you, down there is Pat Williams in the middle, and there will be people in Minnesota that will tell you that he could be the MVP of this team. The way that he has performed, the leadership that he has brought to this team. In fact, he's never been to the Pro Bowl in 9 years, and they think that he should be the Pro Bowl nose tackle the way he's played this year.
Spent his first 8 years with the Buffalo Bills.
He was a free agent, wasn't drafted coming into this league. They're minus Kevin Williams these last 2 weeks. They're Pro Bowl defensive tackle.
So with the training staff tending to Pat Williams, we'll be right back.
Well, Pat Williams over here is just fine. Kevin Williams, his counterpart, the other defensive tackle in street clothes today, should be fine starting next week. He's been out with the left knee sprain, but he's been working out and getting stronger.
Steven Jackson on second down takes it down to the 27-yard line of the Vikings, a gain of 1.
Yeah, you know, and in Kevin Williams' absence, I see C.J. Mosley down there, a rookie. He's played very, very well. And that's what this league has always been built on, Kenny. When somebody gets hurt, another guy gets an opportunity. So a rookie, C.J. Mosley, from the University of Missouri, not a lifetime Ram fan by any means, has had 3 sacks the last 2 weeks and has played very well.
Third down and 4. Fitzpatrick off his back foot, complete to Torrey Holt, who picks up a Rams first down. Holt has become the go-to guy for Fitzpatrick once again today.
Well, I was talking to Brian Williams, who was Torrey Holt's teammate at North Carolina State, and he said what makes Torrey Holt so good is he makes every pass pattern as he comes off the line of scrimmage look the same. It's the same start to every route. And then he can change direction just as quickly going one way as he can the other.
From the 21. Fitzpatrick fires to the end zone. It is picked off by Fred Smoot. The 4th Vikings interception in today's game. 2nd pick of the season for Smoot.
And that's a good job right there by Torrey Holt, just patting Ryan Fitzpatrick on the helmet saying it's going to be okay. And Fred Smoot, who's been out for the last 5 weeks, gets back in the action. And Fitzpatrick just never saw Fred Smoot come off on the coverage. See Fred Smoot coming from the other side. That might be worth challenging, whether that ball was trapped or caught.
Vikings, yeah, Vikings get the play off quickly as Bennett is forced back. So Fitzpatrick has thrown 4 interceptions in today's game. And the Vikings with a 2-touchdown lead, looking to make it 6 consecutive wins. Congratulate Fred Smoot, who's missed the 5 wins, missed the last 5 games with the collarbone injury.
Yeah, I mean, he was one of those key free agent acquisitions from the Washington Redskins a year ago. Played very well on Greg Williams' number 2 ranked defense at the end of the season. And the Vikings have just been stockpiling corners with Antoine Winfield and Fred Smoot and Brian Williams over the last couple of years.
Bennett bottled up again on 2nd and 10. Under 9 minutes remaining, 4th quarter. Brad Johnson and the Vikings leading by a pair of touchdowns, 146 yards in the air for Brad. Michael Bennett, 70 yards on the ground and a touchdown. And that key 49-yard reception by Marcus Robinson led to a Viking score in the 3rd quarter.
You know, and you look at the Viking receiver, it's not a great day. And, you know, it's not that kind of a day today. The defense has constantly gotten the offense extra at-bats with turnovers. And one thing Brad said is this is not a selfish group at all of wide receivers. I mean, whoever becomes a star that day, they enjoy that moment.
3rd down and 10, inside handoff to Bennett. No gain, so the Vikings forced to punt. Well, we take you back to the 3rd quarter touchdown drive. First that ugly duck, then the perfect pass to Marcus Robinson. And look what he did on Tuesday during Take a Kid to School Day.
Well, and he went there and picked up a kid in a limo and came to the school with him that day, traveled with them, and then threw a couple of balls through a hoop from 94 feet away.
Former basketball player at Florida State.
Well, he was 2 for 4 from one length of the floor to the other. Not a bad percentage from 94 feet away.
38-yard punt. Rams get the ball back. 7.5 remaining. A reminder coming up next Saturday on Fox. It will be the Tampa Bay Bucks and the New England Patriots. Pregame gets underway at 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. Both teams winning today. Tampa Bay 20-3 over Carolina, and the Patriots with a 28-0 lead in Buffalo. Under 2 minutes remaining in that Tampa Bay-Carolina game. Rams from their own 43. Fitzpatrick fires, incomplete. Intended for Torrey Holt. Brian Williams on the coverage.
tell you, one guy that we haven't talked about in this whole resurgence of defense has been the coordinator, Ted Cottrell, who came from Buffalo in New York, and a guy that has just stayed patient. It was under fire early this season when the defense wasn't playing well. Right now, they're playing great. And for the first time in back-to-back years, the Vikings have held on to their defensive coordinator, Ted Cottrell now. A lot of these players have had coordinators change every year. Now this year, 2 years in a row, more comfortable with the scheme.
Fitzpatrick to Holt, and that is career catch number 600 for Torrey Holt. So in the same game, Isaac Bruce with his 800th career reception, and Holt with his 600th.
Well, one thing about these receivers of the Rams, regardless of the score, they're going to keep running their routes. And right now, 2 touchdowns to this team is nothing. I mean, they've been coming back in wins this year quite frequently. They've been down in the fourth quarter and have come back.
1st and 10 from the Vikings 42. Fitzpatrick steps up and dives down to the 39-yard line. Gain of 3 on the play, setting up the 2nd down and 7. How about the Bengals and Browns tied at 20 late fourth quarter?
Yeah. Browns, the last team on the Vikings schedule to
played them a couple weeks ago.
Beat them a couple weeks ago right here. Last team to play them at home here.
24-12.
Yeah.
Fitzpatrick firing, and it's caught by Bruce at the 21-yard line of the Vikings, an 18-yard pickup.
That's a good throw by Ryan Fitzpatrick after all the interceptions, to stay in there under the pressure, stay in there and be able to fire that ball like that with accuracy. Really put a lot on that football too. Be able to shake off the interceptions, and that's one thing Joe Vitz said. He said, I'm worried about a lot of things going up to Minnesota, but one thing I'm not worried about is my quarterback. I believe in him, and I don't believe that he'll become unglued at any point during the game.
From the Vikings 21. Fitzpatrick with time. It's caught by Bruce down at the 17-yard line. Gain of 4. Bruce tackled by Antoine Winfield.
That's a pretty good matchup there. Antoine Winfield with Isaac Bruce. Not many cornerbacks in this league can lead a team in tackles. Antoine Winfield leads this team in tackles. An improved defense, you wouldn't think that. You'd think middle linebacker. No, Twan right there leads his team in tackles.
And he's the only one, the only quarterback in the NFL to lead his team. 2nd down and 6 from the Minnesota 17. Pass is caught by Torrey Holt, and he takes it down to the 13-yard line. Gains 4 more. Dontarius Thomas on the tackle for the Vikings with under 5 minutes remaining. A 2-touchdown Minnesota Vikings lead.
Vikings are shuffling personnel, trying to stay fresh. There's been no pass rush on this drive right now.
3rd down and 2. Marshall Faulk in the backfield. 4 wide receivers. Hand off to Faulk, and he picks up the 1st down. Marshall Faulk down to the Vikings 9.
Tell you, that guy still has a great burst. Fresh set of downs here for St. Louis. I was talking to Mark Bulger before the game, and he said that the night before the game in Houston 2 weeks ago, he had Joe Vitt pull out that great comeback win against Seattle down 17 to fourth quarter to show the team, show them what we're capable of doing when we run our offense to perfection.
They beat Seattle 3 times last year. Fitzpatrick to the outside. It's caught by the fullback Hitchcock, and he takes it down to the Vikings 5.
Yeah, I mean, they've had fourth quarter comebacks this year. Down 10 to New Orleans, came back and won by 11. Down 3 to Jacksonville, probably their most impressive win of the year at Jacksonville. Down 14 against Houston 2 weeks ago and came back, and that's a look of consternation there from Ziggy Wilk.
Rams are the last team to beat Jacksonville, losing to the Colts today. Faulk down to the 4-yard line, forced back by Pat Williams. You know what my favorite Joe Vitt story was yesterday? met his wife while he was working the door at Johnny Unitas' restaurant in Baltimore, and he asked her for ID.
Yeah. She was only 18 at the time. He was just in college.
Under 3 minutes remaining. 3rd and goal. Fitzpatrick to the end zone, dropped by Curtis.
Boy, Curtis has been quiet today, and he jumped to catch that football. Anytime a receiver jumps, their concentration is never the same.
Why is that?
Because you don't have your feet on the ground. You're just not grounded. A little harder. See, he jumped there. It wasn't necessary to jump. He could have just caught that ball right there. Now they're forced to go for it on 4th down here from the 5.
Fitzpatrick 5 for 7 on this drive. 4th and goal. 4 receivers, Falk in the backfield. Fitzpatrick to the end zone, incomplete. He was looking for Isaac Bruce.
The defense has held up. The defense has been unbelievable inside the red zone the last couple weeks. Against Detroit last week, 3 times they had the ball in there, kicked 3 field goals. Today, the Rams have been down there. They've stopped them on 4th down inside the red zone twice today. None more important than this one. Great coverage that time by Sharper. Darren Sharper one-on-one there with Isaac Bruce. Had him well covered.
So the Vikings take over on their own 5-yard line, leading by 2 touchdowns with 2:42 remaining. Patrick Faison, who scored a touchdown back in the 3rd quarter. 4 minutes 54 seconds after a Michael Bennett touchdown, which gave Minnesota the lead. Timeout called by the Rams. They stop the clock with 2:35 remaining. Ryan Fitzpatrick, in his 2nd NFL start, has thrown 4 interceptions.
Some of them I got to put on the receivers. Kevin Curtis stopped running on that one. Timing just a little bit off. Isaac Bruce fell down on one. Nonetheless, though, this Viking secondary. Last week, Corey Chavis intercepted a ball at the end of the game to win the game, help preserve a win against Detroit. Turnovers coming the Viking ways, and tough for a rookie. You know, to try and run a rhythm and timing offense without a lot of repetitions. In fact, he said he didn't take any reps, you know, from summer training camp all the way up until last week when he was named the starter a week ago.
Coming into this game, the Vikings 2nd in the league in interceptions. Only the Bengals had more. Vikings with 4 today. Faison brings it out across the 5.
Of course, the Vikings threw 5 interceptions to the Bengals. One of the reasons why they're leading the league in interceptions.
Bengals with 26 coming into play today. Another timeout called by the Rams, stopping the clock with 2:29 remaining. Well, 1:10 remaining in Pittsburgh, so a victory by the Steelers combined with a Vikings win, and Chicago, whose 8-game winning streak will come to an end, and the Vikings, who with a win today would extend their winning streak to 6, would be separated by only 1 game in the NFC North.
Of course, the Vikings lost to the Bears earlier in the year, 28-3, but Ziggy Wilf coming down on the field's got to feel pretty good about nailing down his 6th win in a row. And what that feeling does, getting ready for a Pittsburgh team that's fighting for their playoff lives in the AFC North, coming off an impressive win, shutting down the Bears' 8-game win streak. Sets up a heck of a showdown and another huge game for the Vikings next week.
You know, when you think about everything that's gone on, trading Randy Moss,
Matt Burke's injury.
Matt Burke's injury, the Mike Tice ticket situation, the boat scandal, everything that's happened off the field here in Minnesota. Mike Tice and his staff have done an amazing job keeping the players focused as they are 2 minutes and 10 seconds away from their 6th consecutive win.
And it hasn't been an easy year for Mike. I mean, he tore his MCL ligament against the Giants a couple weeks ago. His son got a lacerated kidney in a high school football game this year. It hasn't been an easy year for anybody.
But the Vikings about to raise their record to 8-5. We have hit the 2-minute warning in Minneapolis. He's up on the big screen, the Minnesota Vikings, with 2 minutes remaining, leading the St. Louis Rams by 2 touchdowns. Darren Bennett will punt from his own 5-yard line. And it's fielded by Allen at the 47, and he's brought down immediately by Ralph Brown. 40-yard punt. It is a final from Pittsburgh. The Steelers have ended the Bears' 8-game winning streak. So Chicago now 9-4. And the Vikings, with a victory, would pull to within 1 game of Chicago, and they will play the Bears here on the final Sunday.
And you can believe that that whole Kyle Orton, Rex Grossman quarterback thing is going to heat up, which can only be a distraction for the Chicago Bears with 3 games left. Their offense has to get better to make a run in the playoffs.
Pass caught by Sean McDonald in Vikings territory. You saw the Colts hung on, so they are now 13-0, joining the group that includes the 34 Bears, the 72 Dolphins, and the 98 Broncos.
Do you think the 72 Dolphins are getting nervous?
Ooh.
You think Nick Bonacani and the group are Larry Zonka and those guys are Jim Kick and all the guys right there, Bob Greasy, thinking about if somebody's going to break that?
Fitzpatrick firing downfield, intended for Torrey Holt. Well, you look at the Colts' remaining schedule. They have the Chargers, the Seahawks, and the Arizona Cardinals. 3 to go for a perfect regular season for the Vikings. Well, they started 2-5. This will be their 6th consecutive win, their 5th in a row here at home.
Yeah, you know, and it's the 2nd time in Brad Johnson's career that he's helped engineer a winning streak of 6 games in a row. He's done it before, and really for the Vikings, I think what this is and what the message should be to the league is it's better to struggle early than it is late. This is a Viking team 2 years ago that started off the season 6-0 and then just fell apart down the end and couldn't straighten themselves out and didn't qualify for the playoffs.
That pass was caught by Curtis for a first down. Last 2 years, Vikings had started 6-0 and 5-1. And by the way, that other 6-game win streak for Brad Johnson you referred to was here with the Vikings in '97.
Well, I think it's interesting.
It's Torrey Holt, another Rams first down, and then he lost the football.
That's Terrence Sharper. He wants his hands on that ball.
And then he fumbled. The question is, was Sharper down?
Sharper's like, if I can't get an interception here today, I want to get myself a fumble.
Wow. Rams recover.
See, was this a fumble to begin with here?
So the Rams commit their 5th turnover, and the Vikings their 2nd on the same play.
Yeah. Sharper committed the same problem right there that Torrey Holt did. Didn't put the ball away.
So it's a first down for the Rams on the Vikings 37. Fitzpatrick out of the shotgun. Out of bounds, looking for Isaac Bruce. Great job by our entire crew, led by producer Pete Macheska, director Michael Frank, our associate director Barry Landis, broadcast associate Chirag Devaskar, our technical producer Dan Rotante. Studio show produced by Scott Ackerson, directed by Bob Levy. The associate director is Stephanie Medina. Jack Simmons, the senior vice president of production. Senior producer of Fox Sports is Bill Brown. Executive producers are Ed Gorin and David Hill. Eric Merlis, Rick Camps crunching the numbers, and our spotter in the booth is Ben Bowman.
Well, Vikings with the 6-game win streak right now.
Fitzpatrick to Bruce. but he was out of bounds.
I think what you look at today, and really the dichotomy is Ryan Fitzpatrick throwing 4 interceptions. See right here, Isaac Bruce.
Right foot came down out of bounds on the chalk.
I don't think he dragged it long enough there. But then Brad Johnson, the other side, no turnovers, taking care of the football. You know, Brad Johnson, 16 to 25, only 146 yards today, but to 9 different receivers. He continues to spread the ball around. I think this offense does have to get better here in the final 3 weeks to make a run into the playoffs. And they're going to see better defenses.
Yep, that pass caught by Falk, and with that reception, he becomes the all-time leader among running backs in league history for receiving yardage.
So let me get this right. Isaac Bruce with 800 catches. Torrey Holt with 600. Marshall Falk, all-time leading receiver as a running back.
You got it.
All in the same day.
And now Fitzpatrick to the end zone, deflected, and Sharper has his interception.
Now he can go and take the shower here. Now he got his. Now he's happy. That's number 39 for him over the last 5 years.
Number 8 this season, the 5th Vikings interception of this game.
He's like, I'm not going to be happy today unless I get mine. Everybody else is getting one. Guy has great hands.
And we welcome those of you who had been watching the Bears and the Steelers, as well as the Bucks and the Panthers. Kenny Albert, Brian Baldinger, as the final seconds will tick off here in Minnesota. 5 interceptions for the Vikings. Koren Robinson scored the first touchdown of the game. Ryan Fitzpatrick in his second NFL start throws 5 interceptions. There's Joe Vitt, the Rams interim head coach. St. Louis drops to 5-8. The Vikings 8-5. Minnesota within a game of Chicago in the NFC North.
Oh, you got to play all the games out, Kenny. You got to play all 16 games before you determine who's in the playoffs and who isn't. A lot of football yet to be played.
Mike Tice's Vikings win their 6th in a row, their 5th consecutive win at home, 6-0 with Brad Johnson as their starting quarterback. Minnesota within a game of Chicago will return to the Metrodome right after these messages. Here in Minnesota, a 27-13 victory for the Vikings over the St. Louis Rams. Koren Robinson and the Vikings win their 6th consecutive game, now 8-5, 1 game behind Chicago in the NFC North. We check out our UPS leaderboard. Brad Johnson, 146 yards in the air for the Vikings. Michael Bennett, 70 on the ground. Robinson, a 13-yard touchdown run and a 61-yard kickoff return. For Ryan Baldinger, this is Kenny Albert. So long from the Metrodome as we send you west to James Brown in Los Angeles.
We continue going around the National Football League to get you caught up on highlights and scores and putting things in perspective. So we now turn it over to the Blonde Bomber, talking a little bit about St. Louis and Minnesota. Minnesota is 6-0 with Brad Holland. What's Brad's last name?
Brad Johnson.
Brad at the helm. There you go.
The owner, Ziggy Whip. Ziggy, how you doing? You got to learn where the cameras are, Ziggy, if you're an owner. Nice job. Koren Robinson, a little option on a reverse 13-yard touchdown run. His first run for a touchdown on the season. Vikings up 7-0. Ryan Fitzpatrick, young man out
What's
of
that name again?
Fitzpatrick.
All right.
I got my tongue in the way. There you go, 14-yard run, 13-13. And then it's Michael Bennett. Big day, straight up the middle, 7-yard touchdown run, 20-13. Fitzpatrick. Uh-oh, what happened? Ball got away, went up high. There's your interception by Brian Williams. Good day for the Viking defense, good day for the Viking crowd, and certainly owner Ziggy Will. Fitzpatrick, not a good day, but that's okay, young man. It's all about learning how to play. 27-13. Vikings now 6 in a row take their record to 8-5.
All right, I guess it's safe to say that the Vikings are getting Ziggy with it. As they pull that
we
one
got
off.
to give Ziggy
That's a Mike Berger line. That's a Mike Berger line.
John
Go
Gruden,
ahead.
head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, remembers the 9th week of the season when his team was beat 34-14. Watches the Cadillac run hard. 14-yard score, 7-0. Buccaneers over the Panthers. Steve Smith, top right of his screen, goes up. He is smoked by Will Allen. A legal hit, gets up, walks off the field, does return. Like I said, score is 7-0 now in the fourth quarter. Jake Delhomme looking, thinks he's got his man, Ricky Proehl, but there he's picked off by Rondé Barber. 4 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. Remember, 3 last week against Atlanta, 1 in this football game. Cadillac Williams, first time in his career for multiple touchdowns. There he goes up the middle, his second of the year, 10-yard score, 20-10. Tampa Bay over the Carolina Panthers.
And I think I recall correctly that the three of you said that Chris Sims was doing a nice job. Indeed, he did. 20 of 27, 138 yards. And he talked without Jay Glazer after the game.
All right, thanks, JB. Chris Sims, you guys have now swept all your opponents on the road inside your division. What's happened with you guys in the last few weeks to bring up that confidence?
You know, we're just playing, we're playing tough, hard-nosed football. You know, our offensive line's controlling the line of scrimmage, doing a great job. We're not making a lot of mistakes. And, you know, we feel a little bit underappreciated right now. I think a lot of people overlook this.
You know, that seems to have been the theme all last night. Underappreciated, the whole woe is me thing.
Yeah, you know, I mean, hey, we watch all the sports shows, and we see all the so-called experts, you know, picking the Panthers every week and whoever we're playing. So we just want to keep playing and hopefully, you know, pile up these wins.
You in the fourth quarter also, you've been stellar in the fourth quarter of this season. Going into your starting stint here, what's happened now in the fourth quarter to show you that you have this confidence?
Well, I think it's like me and you were talking about last night. You know, the Redskin game, I think, propelled us to at least give us a momentum and say, you know, we can get it done no matter what the circumstance. And, you know, we've kind of just been following along that way. It hasn't always been pretty, but we've been making the plays when we had to.
All right, thanks. Congratulations. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. JP, back to you.
All right, Jay, as we take a look at the NFC playoff picture, and again, Jimmy Johnson already talked about things being tight in the NFC North, certainly the same in the NFC South. All of the NFC East teams are playing later. Jimmy and Howie, as we take a look at this, again, design parity in the National Football League. Certainly that's what we're heading towards at the end of the season as well.
Well, you look at the NFC South, Tampa right now tied 9-4 with Carolina, but Tampa's got the edge with division record. So it's going to go down to the very last week. You got Atlanta a couple of games back, of course, be playing tonight. So, you know, Carolina and Tampa are going to have a tight race.
Well, Minnesota back in the picture. It's a game you expect them to win at home. They get Pittsburgh, a resurgent Pittsburgh, in next week. And then the last game of the year, at home versus the Chicago Bears. That might dictate the fate of their season. If they don't win the division, I don't know that they get in.
Yeah, Carolina, I thought would lose this football game. Now, all of a sudden, Tampa Bay, having won this game on the road, takes it on the road to a hot New England team next year.
Did you change? You said in the
No,
pregame show
I
that...
picked them to lose this game,
Oh,
but
okay.
they won. I'm
guess,
not stroking myself. I'm just saying a big win for them. Now they travel to New England, another tough road game. That's all I'm saying.
You've got selective amnesia.
No, but he acknowledged
Take care of me,
the
will
fact
you?
that he said he thought they were going to lose that game.
Listen,
in fact, that they
at least
did.
I went out on the limb.
New England
Nobody
next week,
talking
right?
to you.
Next
What?
week?
New England
This
next
kind of
week.
scintillating debate is what we'll come back to as we talk about Indianapolis and its drive for perfection right after. Indianapolis in its drive for perfection, taking on a tough division opponent. That would be Jacksonville. Let's see how they did today. Looking to go 13-0.
All the great ones stumble. That's okay.
Did
Peyton,
you?
I didn't say I was a great one. Remember this play last week? A little delayed in route. Peyton Manning to Marvin Harris on a 9-yard strike. They did it again. 7-0, second quarter. Manning back, play action, steps up. Watt rush, don't worry about it. Guns it. Down the middle post route. Where's the safety? I don't know. 65-yard touchdown. Man, 13-0, we believe, absolutely. I picked you to go undefeated. Colts, keep it up. 26-18 is your final over Jacksonville. I picked them earlier.
Yeah, that's great.
Snow in Buffalo, Jimmy. I know you got to love this. Corey Dillon says, what snow? 12-yard touchdown run as he bounces to the outside. Over the Bills, 14-0 now in the second half. Tom Brady, look, quick little screen out to the wide side to Troy Brown. 5-yard touchdown pass. New England, watch out. Here they come, getting good. 35-7, Patriots 8-5 over the Buffalo Bills. Cleveland, Cincinnati, Carson Palmer, the Bengals ready to host the Browns. Charlie Fry, play action at the goal line, looks right, throws left, wide open, hiding there for a 2-yard score. Browns up 14-7. Palmer sets up, looks out into the flat. Usmanzada there for a 4-yard score. 20-17. Bengals over the Browns with 1 second to go. Shane Graham, 37-yarder to win it for Cincinnati. It's good. Told you, Jimmy. It's good. Bengals 23-20 over the Cleveland Browns. I told you, Jimmy.
And improved to 10-3 as a result. You said you like the kid Charlie Friday, right?
I do like Charlie Friday
for the Browns for sure. All right, so as we take a look at the playoff picture again, with that victory today, Indianapolis not only clinches the division, but has home field throughout. Cincinnati looking awfully impressive. And Jimmy continues to talk about New England being a serious threat postseason.
Yeah, New England's going to lock up this division if Miami loses at San Diego. So New England, everybody, they're under the radar right now. You know, everybody talked about how they had all the injuries and this and that. They know how to win in the playoffs, and they're going to have a home game in the playoffs. To
Getting a lot of people back in Indianapolis. Now the speculation begins. Now the pressing questions begin. The players are going to get tired of it. At what point does Tony Dungy address it? Does he address it right away? Glenn is banged up, the left tackle. Mathis, the left defensive end, is banged up. Cato June was out today. I'm sure they have a lot of people, Nick. Jacksonville down there is always a physical game.
It's fun now, Howie. Yeah. It is fun, and I will tell you right now.
Watch how tired they get of answering those questions.
They should revel in it. It should be fun for them.
I've said all along that they're going to go undefeated in the regular season in Indianapolis. You know, they're going to go undefeated. They're going to make a run of this thing.
What? You said they
did I say that, or did I?
Games.
Did I say
Selected amnesia? Say it. You tell me that. Turn around and say something
That's
to him.
the second thing that goes is short-term memory.
But Jimmy he did make a good point. Now, I disagree with under the radar because New England is 3-time world champion. But the thing is this, they'll win their first playoff game at home, and then they will travel to
where? Indianapolis.
Yeah, play
folks,
the
we will come back and talk a lot more just like they're doing right after this.
He doesn't get a lot of recognition from me anyway, because I go too far back with him. But Game Ball just continues to make enough plays for us to win. Brad Johnson. Right. Yeah!
Deserved honor indeed as Brad Johnson now 6-0 at the helm. Jets and Raiders. Well, the Jets, well, you know, you thought they were in the Reggie Bush run here, but 26-10, they go on to take care of business with the Raiders. You know, the Texans missed a 30-yard field goal. Talk about, maybe they had Reggie Bush on the mind then? I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't allude to that, but I did.
Got awful quiet on the side.
Yeah, they sure did. Guys won't step out there. 7-0 Giants at the Eagles in that contest there. Seahawks 7-3 over the 49ers. Seahawks have won 5 straight meetings between these two squads. The Redskins need this win today over the Cardinals, and that will be a tough one for sure.
Don't worry about it, JB. I told you they will sweep the rest of their games. No problem.
That's what I'm afraid of. All right, what about the Cowboys and Chiefs then?
I think the Chiefs win this game.
Cowboys looking to bounce back after back-to-back losses. No, I'm not. Broncos and the Ravens. Denver has won 8 straight home games dating back to last season. All right, let's do global. I haven't used that word. Global thoughts on the day, starting with Jimmy.
Well, Brad Johnson, you know, getting the 6-0 there with the Minnesota Vikings, getting the game ball. But really, Mike Tice, he's held this thing together. This thing was unraveling in the first half of the season. You know, Ziggy Welch went in, had a little talk with him, you know, gave him a little vote of confidence, and now he's back winning games.
Give Ziggy a nickname. That's
yeah. Hey, they're going to play Chicago that last game of the season for that division.
Well, and it's how they're getting it done. And they get Pittsburgh next week. That to me will define their season. In order to get to that game at the end of the year versus Chicago, they've got to beat a resurgent Pittsburgh Steelers team that I'm not sure they can handle.
Okay, so now what about Carolina? What about Tampa Bay? I did not see that today.
They're 9-4. They're tied.
Yeah,
they're okay.
Yeah.
They switched
Frank Caliendo saw it, but I did not see it.
The fur ball pick.
It's a classic case, in my opinion, that when you're a good football team and you're in that playoff run with 4 weeks to go, you win at home. You win at home.
When you're desperate, and Tampa was a desperate team, they could not lose to Carolina.
Same could be said about Pittsburgh as well, too, you know. Hey, I mentioned that name, Brad Holland, a little early as opposed to Brad Johnson.
That's okay, but
you know,
Harvard guys, this show is live. It's okay. I make enough mistakes for everybody.
Scotty said a basketball player. You're right, Scotty. Certainly with UCLA. Hey, football next week. We're on the air at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday. It'll be the Buccaneers at the Patriots.
Can I be a little late for that?
Can you be a little late for that game?
No,
You got to be here. Now, can't be late for Sunday either. We got a doubleheader actually coming up on Sunday for sure. So some good stuff.
Oh,
Cowboys and Redskins.
Cowboys and Redskins, two desperate
Yeah, we're
teams
going to
right
come
there.
out. We're going to come next week with the top 10 defensive players that you don't know about in the NFL.
That you don't
That's your
know
stuff
about in the
you don't
NFL.
know about. Yeah.
None of us know about him.
Well, you would know. I would know.
How about him?
You know what? I don't care.
This could be a big research week for him.
I don't care. So if you're trying to take a shot at me,
Terry really doesn't care. What he's saying is that he will learn. We'll see you next week right here.
Promotional consideration paid for by Fox Sports thanks you for watching this presentation of the National Football League. The NFL is online at www.nfl.com.
You've been watching Fox Sports, broadcasting in HD and presented by DirecTV. Cadillac Williams and the Bucks, Tom Brady and the Patriots. It's a Fox NFL Saturday special this week in HD. This has been a presentation of Fox Sports, home to Major League Baseball, the National Football League, and NASCAR.
3, 2, 1. See ya.
Jerry, George.
We're doing fine. How are you?
What? Oh, me? Fabulous. Just fabulous. I got a lot of auditions, a lot of callbacks. I got a lot of interest in my movie treatment. You know, I'm in development. I'm developing vehicles. Man, there's a lot of energy here, man. You know, the vibe, it's powerful. I'm just swept up in it. Yeah, I'm a player.
Player?
Oh, yeah, I'm a player.
Kramer, do you realize what's going on here? Do you know why you're here?
What, this? I'll be out of here in a couple of hours. Hey, guess who I met today? Fred Savage. Oh, nice kid. A really good kid. You know, we're talking about doing a project together.
Kramer, you've been arrested as a serial killer.
So? What? I'm innocent. I mean, you guys believe that I'm innocent, don't you? Jerry? George?
Yeah, sure.
Kramer, let's go. Lieutenant wants to see you.
Yeah, okay, yeah. All right, look, I'll be out of here by noon. Hey, maybe we'll have lunch together, huh?